Hey y'all, my name is Quencie Thomas and I'm so excited to bring you an interview with one of my most favorite content creators and mental health coaches, Isaiah Frizzelle. I first discovered Isaiah on TikTok years ago during the pandemic, but now I follow him faithfully on Instagram. His content, always a daily reminder that we matter. The way he breaks down healing and self-awareness and how we show up in relationships is powerful and necessary. And with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, I can't think of a better time to sit down and talk with him. We filmed this just before the month wrapped up. And let me tell you, it's the kind of conversation that really sticks with you. So if you're into real conversations about mental health, self-love, healing, and everything in between, grab a snack, press play, and let this feed your spirit. I promise you won't be disappointed. Thank you in advance for watching, and please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. It's your girl, Quencie. We are here with Salt and Pepper. How has Gail made you?
Don't get me crying.
And we are here live at the SAG Awards. Leave a message. What's the biggest lesson motherhood has taught you?
To be honest.
Studio
I'm the
Q.
Q in the studio.
All right, cutie. It's a different world.
Thanks for coming. Thank you for being letting me know you.
It's a interview of shit over here.
This is probably the best interview I've ever done.
And you're such a great interview. My goodness.
This is honestly the best interview I've had in months.
I'm hanging out with my booskies. Studio Q, baby.
Oh my goodness, I am so excited, you guys. I have the wonderful opportunity to interview, he's an actor. He's a physical fitness trainer. He's a mental health coach. He got double degrees. This man is giving you content like boots on the ground. Where some people say where them fans at, I'm saying where Isaiah at. Okay? For anybody who does not have any idea who Isaiah Frizzelle is, we're going to be introduced to him by him. Okay?
Ooh.
Check it out.
As a mental health coach, I figured I'd take you guys behind the scenes of just what life looks like for me, right? I emphasize the importance of taking care of yourself and in consequence taking care of others. You know, I like to start my days off by making my body cry. This is usually the first stop in the day. It allows me to stretch mentally and physically. I also like balance, so I'm a big baker. It's my love language. I'm making a blueberry lemon tiramisu right here. Let me tell y'all, I did not disappoint. This was dangerous. I love empowering my clients that I work with, and the only way I can do that is if I'm empowering myself. So I do go to therapy. I take care of myself. And as a guy, I think it's important. It's crucial. I'm a big bookworm, so I read a lot. I read about 3 to 4 books at a time, 10 pages a day, something simple. But also as a writer and as an author, it allows my mind to stay sharp, to stay flexible, to stay malleable, but also to be at rest. Reading is rest for me, truthfully. But I also love reminding people that they are the most important relationship with themselves and providing them the tools to just get there in the simplest way. Because sometimes life can be hard, but hey, let's make it a little bit easier. Here's my little fit check and the sun flirting, but here's the actual fit check. Let's go. Some of the closest people to me are not always the closest in proximity. So prioritizing those relationships, meeting those commitments matters so much to me. So even if it's virtual traditions, watching movies, TV shows with one another, making sure you show up. As a CEO, as an author, as a coach, as a podcaster, as a content creator, there are a lot of things that I have going on in a day. But there's no such thing as being too busy for the people who make my life what it is. That will always matter. That will always be important. And it will reflect back. All right. Take care of the people who take care of you. And remember that you are the most important ingredient in life to make it sweet. So show up. It's just information.
Wow. It's one thing for me to do something, but I love how you introduced yourself.
Oh man, it was kind of interesting, I think, watching it from a different vantage point. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of like being introduced to who I am, like in a very different way. So Oh man, that's cool. That was a little treat. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I was gonna do some razzle dazzle. I said, but he knows him better than I do.
Come on now. Come on. Go on, Q.
The thing that I love the most about this book is that I have it.
Come
The
on.
thing that I hate the most about this book as it's not autographed by you.
I gotta do that.
Yes.
I still got it.
I bought it off of Amazon. I didn't know that if I would have went through your actual website, then I would have got that. So I was like,
I gotta get you right then. Absolutely.
sometimes we talk about this at the end, but let's talk about this at the beginning. I love the fact that you get to do this inner work while also paying attention to your inner child who we neglect a lot.
Yeah.
Tell me, was that on purpose and how did that come about?
Yeah, it was definitely on purpose. It was intentional just because, as the book is titled, life isn't black and white and our experiences color who we are. I think as adults, a lot of adults that you interact with, even if you, examine yourself, is a kid that just literally had to get older. And a lot of adults get older, but not a lot of adults actually grow up. They don't mature. So, with the coloring book, it was an opportunity to kind of be the adult that you may have needed, in such a way where, you are reframing, you are regrouping, you're learning certain things, you're recognizing your own blind spots, but you're also still being a kid in you, being like, hey, yeah, these things may have happened, but let me give you something back in return.
Yeah.
Just color. Like I'll do this heavy work. You could just color. You know what I'm
I
saying? So
love that.
yeah,
I love that.
duality.
And listen, I just found out
Yeah.
that you are from New Jersey, and New Jersey to me represents Whitney Houston. So,
Yeah.
what is your favorite Whitney song?
Oh man, How Will I Know is one of my favorites by Whitney. That's one of my jams. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, what part of New Jersey did you grow up in?
I was born in Newark actually. So yeah, I'm from the area for sure. Yeah.
What? You are really
Yeah.
you from Newark?
Yeah. So I was born in Newark and then I grew up in East Orange and Bloomfield. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you a nippy cousin just because you were raised
In the mix.
in the
Yeah.
mix, in the mix.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So listen, I'm gonna start this off with a quote from Tanya Frizzelle. She
Uh-huh.
said, he's the first person I call after a rough day at work, actually during work too. He's my serenity. How have you created a space for her to feel that from you and vice versa? And tell us who Tanya is.
Oh man. So I'll answer. So Tanya's my mom. Um, and how have I created that space for her? I think, man, it's a big part of what I do now. It's just being a listener. You know, I think I listen very well, sometimes to other people's own detriment, but it's like, I listen. And when you take the time to just have the willingness to be receptive to what another person's saying, there is a lot that comes up that um, you may not necessarily recognize initially, but you just kind of understand the person on a deeper level. So I think it's just a natural thing, just being a listener and also being curious. I'm a very curious person. So there's a lot of information that I take in. Um, yeah, that's just important.
Yeah, but I think the thing that just reaches out to me is that it takes a lot of people a long time to realize that their parents are people too.
Yeah.
So for you, we're not just talking about anybody, we're talking about your mom. So to
Yeah.
show up as somebody she gave birth to, somebody who she
Right.
reared, as somebody that she could feel safe with. I feel it's more than just listening. I feel like it's something else.
Yeah. I really don't know what it is. Sometimes I'll sit back and I'll think about, I'm like, man, it's not why me in a negative way, but it's just kind of like how. And everybody is unique, right? Everybody has
Yeah.
their own gifts. Everybody has their own their strengths and their skills. And I think for me, it's just always been see past certain things, see through certain things, and really take a good look at who and what is in front of me. So yeah, it's interesting.
Why do
Yeah.
you think being raised by a single parent helped you become, your own person?
Oh man, that's that's an amazing question. I think, you know, seeing someone do multiple jobs at once, and just watch them handle so many moving parts while still maintaining a foundation. I think in itself, it allows me to, obviously you see things in your parents that you model, right? It's like,
Mhm.
okay, this person's resourceful. They're obviously passing down their knowledge and their experiences directly or indirectly. And by design, it's just kind of like you pick up on that. I remember my aunt, she actually said, she's like, watching you as a kid, you used to just watch. She was like, you're always very quiet. And you used to just observe. So I think it was just always a part of the makeup. And, being my own person again, incorporating curiosity for me has really allowed me to just kind of like explore who I am a little bit more and also just lean into it. If it's something that I found interesting, I'm leaning into it.
How did being that kind of kid, being curious, seeing
Yeah.
somebody do all those moving parts, like what
Yeah.
did that pour into you to develop whatever skill set to show up in the relationships that you have, the kind of relationships that you allow in your life?
I think being intentional, that's a big thing, right? It really allowed me to recognize what it means to be thorough, what it means to be intentional, what it means to be sincere, but also what it means to stand on your own. A lot of the world operates in a very codependent, there's a codependent like hierarchy that kind of just takes place where that is really it's the undercurrent that runs a lot of relationships versus interdependence, where it's like I understand that we are in relationship together, friend, family, the partnership, it doesn't matter. It's like I'm gonna look out for you, but I'm also have the skill set to look out for myself. And if you don't want to lean in, I still got me. If you do want to show up, awesome. We're gonna be a team and we're gonna work together. Right. So I think, watching somebody do it themselves and again be very resourceful is a reminder of like what you are capable of and how you show up. Do right by people and make sure people are doing right by you because it's like whether you show up or don't, I still got me. You don't necessarily have to approach life or people with this idea of harshness of like, oh, I can just do everything on my own and be hyper independent, but just having a certain sense of yourself where it's like I got you, but I also got me too.
I think in one of your videos, you said, if I'm like reliable
Yeah,
and hyper dependent, why do I need you?
right. It's funny because a lot of times people desire, there is this element of hyper independence that's encouraged. But when we think about hyper independence, that's a form of codependence, right? Codependency is relying on one person to have all your needs met. And if
Mhm.
you're hyper independent, that means you're relying solely on yourself to have all your needs met. And if that person fails, then you're deeply affected, right? And hyper independence also tells yourself in some way, shape, or form that you don't deserve to have resources, you don't deserve to have community, you only
Mm,
have yourself to rely on. So it's kind of like a very indirect punishment that you subject yourself to. And also, what it does is it allows other people to feel okay not showing up for you too, right? Because if I'm hyper independent, I got me. You're going to see it as like, oh, Isaiah, you got you, so I don't ever have to support you, but I could be supported by you, right? Which is why it's so important to step out of this idea of being hyper independent because it reinforces something that you may not desire. Like, stop being the go-to for people you can't go to. You
yes.
know what I'm
There go that
saying?
wordsmith. There
I
go
see
that
that.
wordsmith coming in there. He always be coming
It's
in there. We always be needing the ether beat on speed dial.
yeah, I think so. It's like I really try to rewrite that narrative because also how you treat yourself is how you're going to treat other people. So if you're stifling your own growth, your own emotional ecosystem, your own willingness to be supported, then are you authentically showing up for people, or is it a way to kind of control the narrative with people? Right? How authentic are your relationships? How nurturing are those relationships? Or is it just you kind of controlling the dynamic because it keeps people at bay? I recognize it's like I'm a very reliable person and I know my patterns very well. So if you're not going to show up, or if you're going to do what you do, it's like, all right, cool, you can do it over there. I got me, you know?
Yeah.
And there are other people who will want to show up too. So it's like you make room. It doesn't, it really drives me crazy. Like the hyper individualism that is perpetuated or just try, people attempt to make it popular. And it's like, it just messes up community as a whole.
Because you've granted me this opportunity to interview you, I feel like I have the privilege that most people in your comment section would love, which is which is how I'm going to do this interview, which is going to be different than how I did it the last time, which is when we go to Instagram and we're scrolling and we shout out to the over 200,000 you got on Instagram. Shout out. I was just congratulating you on 100K. Then I looked up and brother's headed to 300.
Come on now. Yes.
Listen, that is not a small feat because Instagram likes nobody. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So listen, shout out to you for that. I had to little break up whatever I was going to say. So, but when we're on Instagram and we there's a post that hits, right? And I'm commenting, I'm putting diamonds, I'm putting all that. But there's also other people, they got paragraphs, they got this, you hit me today in the face. Oh, Isaiah, what you doing? You know? But I think the one thing that people would love to do if they have the opportunity after that video is played is to talk to you about whatever they got going on. With this triggered this, and I want to talk more about this particular video and how it affects my life. And so what I've done is I have a cornucopia of Isaiah videos that I selected. Some of them that resonated with a lot of people. Some of them, they just resonated with me. And so throughout the conversation, I'm going to play a video and get the opportunity that I wish that I know that they wish they had. Sorry, y'all. It's me. So here go one. This video actually got 1.6 million views. And I think it kind of ties to what you said.
Okay. Say it with me. If my relationship with you, friendship included, requires me to be dependable for you, but hyper independent for myself, then I don't need you. And we've both shown that. Okay? Be mindful of the people who are constantly boasting and encouraging low maintenance relationships, because sometimes, a lot of times, these are people who lack the emotional maturity, availability, and capacity to sustain relationships outside of their convenience and their needs. Most cases, you're not asking for anything differently than they are. It's just that you are now asking for something from them, and that's different for them. But see a lack of effort as a lack of interest. Nothing more, nothing less. And also understand that sometimes the people who demand that you seek very little from them are also seeking a lot from you. All right? But the lower the maintenance for you, it's the lower the access to you. Don't let your empathy or your loyalty impede on your self-respect.
Listen, what is it like to listen to you? First of all, what you got to say about you?
Listen, that previous Isaiah, I don't know who Homeboy is, but I think listening to that just now, because truth of the matter, first off, shout out to all the followers in Q. Shout out to you for just like always gassing me up. I really make it a point to be intentional in the comments, and like especially something my mom taught us. She was like, no matter where you go, you don't ever forget the people who made it a point to support you, right? So it's like, if I see you in the comment section, oh yeah, absolutely, I will acknowledge. Yes, are you kidding me? Yeah, absolutely. I really do appreciate the people that do respond and leave their comments. That video is interesting to watch. I think it is interesting to be a viewer of that, and I think kind of see what other people may see and how they may experience. Because when I was watching the video, I sat here and I kind of froze. And I was like, let me make sure I'm listening. Let me make sure I'm paying attention. Because homeboy he's saying something. He's definitely saying something. Um,
He was
so
saying a
yeah,
lot of stuff, and
yeah,
all the stuff that he was saying was
yeah,
hitting. It was hitting.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm really happy to bring this experience to you
Thank you.
because this is what we get all the time through your content. So for you to
Yeah.
be able to now kind of like go to your own movie.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. It's different. Um, it's so funny. It's kind of cheesy, but even when I see myself on TV, I still have those moments where I'm kind of like,
That's me.
yeah.
I saw you on the
Yeah.
Upshaws. I said,
Did
that's
you?
Isaiah
Oh
right there.
Lord. Yes.
Now
Oh man.
he framed up in the gym and he's an actual personal trainer. Like,
Listen, sometimes it's funny how the universe works. Is I really believe that, you know, y- if you're not watching yourself and you're just doing what you're supposed to do in life, you'll start to see the connections and the dots like later. You know,
mhm,
when you stop being such a harsh critic, you stop helicoptering over yourself. You stop saying, "Well, you should do this. You should be doing this." You just do you.
mhm,
Uh, life has a funny way of being like, "Hey, remember that? Here's proof."
mhm.
So
Oh,
yeah,
for
even
sure.
the Upshaws, I thought it was just a full circle moment. I was like, that's hilarious, you know. Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah, yeah, in a great way. I was like, oh man, what a blessing. So yeah, yeah. Oh man.
I love being able to see you on there. Also, like, I don't want to pass through the fact that May is Mental Health Awareness Month,
Yes, ma'am.
and you are a mental health professional.
Yeah.
And so I really love this video. Now, this video of yours got 3.8 million views, so it resonated with a bunch of people. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's perfect for the last few days of May,
Yeah.
but I look at mental health as all year round. But since
Yes,
we're,
ma'am.
celebrating
Yep.
that, like
Yep.
this right here is fire and it's info, and a lot of people got value out of it because 3.8
Okay.
million on Instagram of a man talking about mental health. I
Uh-huh.
mean, what? It's not a dancing video, okay?
Yeah. Right. I
It's
wasn't
not a
shaking up.
parakeet. It's not a
Yeah.
parakeet going like
Yeah.
what? It's just you spitting
Yeah.
facts. Here we go, y'all.
The higher your
Okay.
standards, the lower your blood pressure. Call it science. But the higher your standards, the less inclined you are to be in places and with people who compromise your overall health. Okay? This applies professionally, but also interpersonally. And it doesn't mean you don't cross paths with people, it just means you guys aren't going to the same places. But the higher your standards, the more you start to practice catch and release. You catch the patterns, you catch the inconsistencies, you catch the inconsideration, you catch the lack of effort, you catch the taking advantage of, you catch the weaponized incompetence, the betrayal, the shadiness, the flakiness, okay, the lack of accountability. And you release the need to obligate yourself to any relationships that require those things in order for it to exist. And empathy is a 7-letter word that a lot of people can easily say, but a lifelong practice that most people are not committed to. And it shows. So, don't let a person sell milk back to a cow. You know what you offer, you know what you carry, you know what you can sustain, you know what you provided, okay? You know what you deserve, you know what you observed, you also know what you experienced. And that's more than enough. Stand on your standards because they will keep you healthy.
Why do you think that video resonated with so many people? And how is it resonating with you right now?
Oh man. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know why y'all entertain me. Y'all be gassing me up. Y'all in trouble.
You know who our president is? We live in a very crazy world right now. So
Yeah.
ain't nobody gassing you up. If anything, they would look for an opportunity to knock you down.
That's true. Oh man, good point. Good point. Good point. It's funny because that video, man, it's so funny because there were people who were so bothered by that video too.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's interesting, and not to give them the platform, but I think, that video really stood to this idea of you know, I think when we talk about standards, a lot of times there's this cautionary tale that comes with it. You know, some people are like, oh, yeah, if you have standards, you're going to be lonely for the rest of your life. Or, you know, that's the reason why I'm single because of my standards. And I'm like, I don't think necessarily that's not the case. Like, standards, to have high quality standards or to have a quality sense of living, like, yeah, the pool is a little bit more condensed. However, it doesn't resort to loneliness. If you look at some of the most successful people, they have a standard for where they want to be in life, right? And we idolize them, right? Basketball players, entertainers, like you name it. We idolize those people. Yeah, well, they have a certain level of standard for life and they reach that, right?
Yeah.
They still have relationships, they still have support. But I think it is this empowering idea of understanding, like, hey, the higher your standards, the lower your blood pressure. Yes, because the higher your standards, the less inclined you are to keep engaging with people who make you feel unwell. We fail to realize that, like, people that you do life with literally affect your chemistry. When we say, oh, yeah, this person makes me sick, like, sometimes that's literal, right? How does this person treat you? Are they constantly distorting your recall of a certain experience with them? Are you constantly dysregulated because they're inconsistent or they intentionally sabotage things when they have the opportunity, right? Do they make you feel a certain way about who you are as a person? Or do you have certain people that are very supportive, right? And they encourage you. And you lead into that. And you guys work in tandem and you guys just build from that. Like, the people in your life will literally affect your health. And people who are not advocating for themselves, damn sure won't advocate for you.
I didn't know that there was other people who didn't like the video.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that, oh my, okay.
Yeah. But again, those are usually the people, they say hit dogs holler. So usually the people that are experiencing somebody else's boundaries, somebody else's high standards, right? People are allowed to leave you alone when you continue to treat them poorly. Like, relationships are a choice.
Listen, if that ain't gonna slide into this next video, you just set yourself up. And
Oh
in
man.
this video, what I love so much about it is
Yeah.
you came up with a whole new love language.
Make leaving people alone a love language that you develop when they show you a lack of effort. Okay? In the spirit of community, in the spirit of building reciprocal relationships, in the spirit of being a nurturer or just being a nurturing person, it's important for you to recognize when you are nurturing neglect. Okay? Don't be so blinded by your fear of abandonment, your fear of not being chosen or being disliked, that you overlook somebody's lack of presence and effort in the first place, but you also overlook your own form of self-abandonment by showing up for those people. All right? And people can be as obtuse as they want. People can play semantics about what they have going on in comparison to you. But here's the deal. Priorities are organized choices. And when someone is constantly telling you and showing you what they are more occupied with or who or what they value, and you are always at the bottom of that list, well, that is a clear invitation for you to reconsider yours. Okay? If your efforts are not viewed as anything significant, worth reciprocating, acknowledging, then you too should also be out of view. All right? And leaving people alone doesn't mean you won't always have a conversation about it. You can simply let somebody know, hey, I'm more interested in balanced relationships, and I don't care to make effort where the effort is not cared about. All right? When you leave people alone who are showing you no reciprocation or effort in return, that is the best form of self-love, because you stop abandoning yourself and you stop leaving yourself alone to keep other people company. It's just information.
Listen, I took notes, even though I didn't see the video, uploaded the video, and played the video. Please speak to nurturing neglect,
Oh,
that
yes,
lack
ma'am.
of presence, self-abandonment, and
Yes.
organized choices.
Yes. Oh man. Sometimes we are nurturing neglect in the ways of, we hear give people grace. We hear, oh, this person only has a certain capacity, so you should meet them where they are. And it seems like the responsibility falls on one person to sustain that relationship, which means that I'm always going to be here whether you are not, even if you are not, right? Even if you can't support me, I'm still going to be supportive of you because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to have empathy. I'm supposed to have compassion. And what we fail to realize is we are literally, it's kind of like if you had your kid sitting here and saying, hey, I'm hungry or I'm sad, I want to go. And you're like, hey, chill out. And then you see a kid over here crying and they have support probably. You decide to go over and acknowledge that kid and you leave yours. That's what we do as adults to our little selves, is saying, hey, your needs are not as important as this person. And yeah, I know they're neglecting your needs, and I know I'm kind of neglecting your needs too, but hey, let's focus on this person. One of the things we have to get a little bit more comfortable with is not trying to win people over by making it clear that we will continue to put in 110%, even if they give us 5%. Right? Giving somebody more of what they don't value is not going to make them value you more. That's just going to get them accustomed to the idea that I don't have to do much to get everything from you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And priorities are organized choices. It was one day I was just sitting around and I think I was thinking about certain conversations that I've had with people or just listening because I like to be on the internet and I listen. I hear what people say. I hear what's going on in relationships. And I just said out loud, I was like, you know what? Priorities are organized choices. And when you listen to a person continue to tell you what they're busy with, who they're busy with, relationships that they can sustain, that they're willing to step into, and all of these things and people come before you, those are choices, right? Everything we have now as an adult, the career, the partner, the kids, the dog, the fish, whatever, the money, those things we had to prioritize and make a choice to cultivate or sustain, right? That's a choice. As much as we try to present it as like, oh, I had no hand in this just came to me, it's a choice. And when a person is showing you that they don't choose you, that is an invitation for you to choose a little bit differently. You are not stuck ever. You are never stuck, especially in a relationship where somebody is showing you, hey, everything is going to come before you, and I still expect me to be your number one priority. Absolutely not. For what?
One of the things that I discovered was
Um,
that I was abandoning myself. And I know so many people
yeah.
do that. And so therefore, I was looking to other people to meet my needs. And guess what? It was so critical that they did. And I
Yep.
didn't realize it's because I didn't have me anymore.
Yep. Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
I had me, first of all, I would recognize sooner that
Yes,
they
ma'am.
weren't there. And then
Yep.
I would be like, me, oh, you don't deserve that. So I
Right.
would have left quicker.
Left much quicker. Left much quicker. I think it's always opportunity to recognize when you're doing something. Like if you're ever in a dynamic and you start to feel like a little burnt out or even resentful or frustrated, I always say, resentment is the result of needs going unmet for an extended period of time, right? So if you start to feel a little disgruntled, you start to, have a disposition or just a energy with a person, you ask yourself, what dynamic has been created in this relationship? What have I been a
Mm.
participant in, right? Have I taught this person that it is okay to neglect my needs by me not speaking up for my needs, me being fearful of being seen as too much or being neglected or abandoned? What have I contributed to making this relationship so imbalanced, right? You will never lose out where there has been no investment. And I think we fail to realize that, right? If a person has not been invested in you, you're not going to lose anything by reevaluating that relationship. If anything, you gain something back. Your time. Time is currency. So is energy.
Yes. I was unaware. So
Uh-huh.
I was really about you, the other
Yeah.
person. And it
Yeah. Of
wasn't one person, it was multiple people because I
course.
wasn't nurturing me. My question is, how do we differentiate between if if you're not doing it for you, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
unfair to ask somebody else to do it for you, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
where do we draw the line of I contributed to my own demise
Neglect.
and
Yeah.
they're not a good friend? They're not showing
Correct.
up for me. How do you differentiate? Because if you
Yeah.
ain't doing it, it's
Yeah.
really bad to be
Yeah.
asking somebody else to do something you ain't doing.
Come on now. Everybody, it's so funny. People list off their standards and what they expect from a person. And then you ask them, okay, which of those standards on that list do you actually meet? You know, how committed are you to being consistent and disciplined with yourself? And it's small things. Let's say, I always say like the simple things. Let's say for 5 days, I say I'm gonna eat clean, or I'm gonna go to sleep a little bit earlier, or I'm gonna journal for 5 days. I say I'm gonna do all those things, and let's say one day out of five I do it. Can I trust myself? Right? Am I a trustworthy friend? Am I being a good friend to myself? No, I'm also being willing to shortchange myself too. But then we get mad at other people for doing the same thing. And it's like, well, the more equipped you are to be a friend to yourself, the more you create an environment where it's like, hey, I can trust me to do the things I say I'm going to do, the easier it is to recognize a lack of boundaries or just kind of regrouping in relationships that are imbalanced. Because you say, it's like, well, I don't move this way. So why am I going to subject myself to it? You know, we don't just teach people how to treat us. It's like we're teaching ourselves what we deserve. We try to make people babysit our emotions in the sense of like, I'm going to make you responsible for my needs. And this is not to say, again, this is not hyper independence, because if you're doing it right, that means you will step into relationships and you will communicate. You will say, hey, here's what I'm recognizing in our dynamic. I would actually value if I'm being treated properly, or, you know, being considered. It's not that difficult, right? And you're never too much for a person that wants to show up. You will always be too much for a person that has no desire to contribute.
I saw a video
Always.
today on TikTok about with
Uh-huh.
Mel Robbins. She was, I don't
Yeah.
know who the guest was, but
Yeah.
she was like, if somebody wants to understand you, they're going to do everything they can to understand you. So
Yep.
Isaiah, how do you differentiate between emotionally immature people
Uh-huh.
and people who really just don't want to show up at all? Like, how do you
Differentiate?
because sometimes they show up looking the same.
I was about to say, sometimes they're one and the same, right? I think with emotional immaturity, even if a person may be emotionally immature, it doesn't always mean that they're malicious, right? So to be emotionally immature and have this moment of growth opportunity, it's like, damn, I realize I may have hurt you. I'm not used to somebody addressing me. So I'm gonna work on doing better, right? Versus somebody who's committed to misunderstanding you, because to understand you means that I have to take accountability for my actions, right? So I'll play kind of like, you know, the weaponizing confidence. I'll play like, I don't know how to do this, whatever. If a person genuinely cares about you, they're very aware of how their behavior impacts you without question, right? And then there is a follow up with some level of action, right? A
Yeah.
person who does not want to show up, they'll continue to move the goalposts. So there's always going to be an issue in front of them as to why they can't treat you properly. And we're talking about just the fundamentals of respect. I know people try to play semantics with that, but it's like, it's not complicated.
It really isn't. Since you said it's not complicated, I love
Yeah.
this video. Look, there's gonna be video. It's gonna be Isaiah movie night. Okay, let's watch this.
A lot of adults handle their relationships like children. And if you listen close enough, you'll realize a lot of these fallouts are stemming from a person's unwillingness to have a conversation or address certain issues that may actually challenge their own behaviors and responsibility for the dysfunction, okay? But we find different ways to mask that. Those are my boundaries. I'm protecting my peace. We don't need to talk all the time. We're all adults and we have busy lives. When the truth of the matter is people like talking about themselves, but they don't like hearing about themselves. So I'm avoiding hearing something about me that may make me uncomfortable and also hold me accountable. The fact of the matter is this: most people don't have the discipline, emotional maturity, or even consistency and capacity to be the kind of partner or friend to the kind of partner or friend that they desire or demand in life. Most people are not protecting their peace, they are protecting their pride, and it shows.
Come on! Come on! That's what I be saying on Instagram. Come on! Talk about the protecting of the pride. Talk about, oh, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
Talk about that list that person is always at the bottom of. And sometimes you're putting yourself on the bottom of the list as well. You
Stop showing
know,
up. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
What
That
did
is
Isaiah get from Isaiah?
what did Isaiah get from Isaiah? I think he got the realization that, I think with the influx of, mental health and therapy talk being so accessible, which I think is great. Everything, I always say, even the things that have good intentions behind them, we still have to recognize people are people. We are capable of a lot of things, which means that a lot of things can be weaponized. So there's even this concept of, well, my peace, right? Protecting my peace. A lot of people who are conflict avoidant or who don't want to um, sit in the discomfort of their actions will avoid certain relationships, and they seem more mature or taking the high road because it's like, well, I'm just protecting my peace. I don't have anything to say to this person, etc. And it's like, are you protecting your peace, or are you avoiding somebody that you crossed in a bad way, and they have feelings that you don't want to deal with or acknowledge because of how it's going to make you look, right? Again, people love talking about themselves, but people don't love hearing about themselves, right? Is one thing to put it out there that I have high standards, or I'm a high vibrational person, or, you know, um, I'm more evolved than you, or etc. And for somebody to check you a little bit and be like, actually, no, you avoid any space that holds you accountable, and you stick around people who make you feel a certain way, right? Who you can kind of step over or play puppet with. All right. So you pick and choose your environment based on what your ego is desiring.
And I love how you talked about weaponizing mental health
Mental
and the
health.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you spoke to that right here.
Yeah. Oh,
Inconsideration is not a trait of introversion. It's a trait of an inconsiderate person. Poor communication skills, avoiding emotional responsibility in terms of how we show up in relationships are not traits of depression, ADHD, or any other mental health disorder. It is a trait of a person who may be emotionally avoidant. Okay, what we need to understand is that when we weaponize or categorize or miscategorize certain mental health challenges, but also personality traits, we are putting everybody who falls under that category into a box that they don't belong in. And truth be told, the real issue is a lot of pride, shame, and guilt that people have relationships with, and it shows. Okay, the person's ability to communicate properly on social media what they have going on is them seeking sympathy without looking for accountability. So they will readily tell people, strangers, what's going on, but not face the people who deserve an explanation. Okay? An apology and accountability and ownership goes a long way, and it shows that a lot of people do not like going out of their way for relationships. So let's just keep it in mind. Okay? Treat people how you want to be treated before you are seeking the kind of friend, love, compassion, communication, understanding, and consideration that they couldn't seek from you and they can't find in you. It's just information.
and the reason why I say it's just information. So the reason behind that statement is like, you can take it or leave it, right? No one's name is mentioned. No, I'm not talking about anybody specifically. But if it offends you, or if it stirs something up in you, then that's probably an indicator. But too often we are eager to tell someone else how they should respond to us versus us just simply reflecting on how we move through the world. And again, especially with mental health, I actually did a video about that recently because I was talking about something in regard to just like reciprocity, and someone goes, well, what if a person's mentally, they have a mental health challenge? And I think that bothers me so much because I know people personally who are battling, like they are battling in private the things that they have going on. And they are some of the sweetest people, some of the most reliable individuals, some of the most considerate people I've come to know in this life. And for a person to say something like that, it's like, well, you're making it seem like people who struggle with mental health challenges are incompetent and also inconsiderate. And that's not the case, right? Sometimes we give people a pass to be very careless and reckless. And it's like, no, that's just who you are as a person. That's how you operate in life. That has nothing to do with the collective. That's you, right?
Yeah.
But what we like, we'll try our best to spread out the responsibility
Mm-hmm.
so we can exist in a collective comfortably. Oh, it's just my insert whatever. It's my neurodivergence or whatever. That's why I treat people poorly. So if you know that about yourself, what do you desire from other people, and why is it any different?
I remember there was a post that you had did, and somebody in the comment section had said, like, this is about self-love and self-respect. Like, everything is not a
Oh,
love language. And the way you check them, you're like, oh, hey, thanks. How about you don't da 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 da? And look, usually people just disappear after you check them, or they try to go back and
yeah.
forth with you. But he said, understood.
Understood. Yeah. I thought that was so, and shout out to whoever took took that accountability and that ownership, because yeah, a lot of times people will double down and it's like you're proving the point, right? You're so eager to make a point that you're proving the one that was just made, right? We get
Mm-hmm.
so ahead of ourselves in that moment. But yeah, I think there's an entitlement, and also I think because for one, social media has allowed people to be very socially reckless, whereas like I don't have to deal with this person, or I'll probably never see them, so I can throw tomatoes, I can throw rocks at their house, and I can go on about my business, right? But I would never say that to them in person. So this is an opportunity for me to kind of air my grievances, and it's misplaced, right? Or is misdirected. Um, and telling people how to talk, I think, is such an interesting thing. There has never been a time on social media where I felt the need to correct someone's video, uh, tell them they said a word wrong, or they're talking about a certain topic in the video, and I say, "Well, I don't do that." I'm like, it doesn't make sense, right? So I think it's just in a lot of ways
Especially when you could just keep scrolling.
you can just keep scrolling. It blows my mind, but again, it represents, sometimes we have a knee jerk reaction to protect ourselves, but also there's an entitlement there where we walk through life thinking that we are allowed to tell people who they should be to make us comfortable. It's like, no, sit with yourself a little bit before you tell me how I should be to make it more digestible for you. Like, no,
Oh, Isaiah, you made it plain. You made it
you're
plain.
playing. Yeah,
But you know what I love about how you handled that? Like, you went straight to the person. You know what I mean? You
yeah,
didn't generalize it like to make a video or tell people
yeah,
whatever. Because on my FYP on TikTok,
yeah,
what has recently happened with Money Long,
yeah,
she like somebody in her live said something, and then it just became a whole attack on all Black women who support
yeah.
you. And so
Right. Wow.
when she
Wow.
could have just identified the one person or
Correct.
two people and go
Yeah.
off on them, but to
Yeah.
generalize your whatever being
Yeah.
attacked
That's
or
tough.
being whatever, and now saying that your fans are from the Philippines and
Yeah.
Brazil, they're not even, you will never win going against Black women, especially when you're a Black woman.
Right. Don't fight yourself. Don't fight yourself. Don't do it.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think her last response on that was, "Y'all got it. Y'all eat me up in the comments." And I still don't think that's appropriate. Like, address it
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah.
Apologize, or
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
the double down and double down when
Yeah.
it was just a simple like, "Hey, I was in my feelings that day. You know,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
bad, whatever." Like, we make it bigger by not being accountable. And I know that it's not
Yeah.
just her; it's a lot of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Accountability is a tricky thing. And for me, I think even though nothing that I say is scripted, like all these videos are not scripted, these are principles that I walk around thinking about. So by the time I talk to you guys, or by the time I say something, I've thought through this. I've done the research. I have personal life experience. So it's like, this isn't me hitting up ChatGPT or Googling something or recycling somebody else's thought piece. It's homegrown, right? So I come correct, which means that if you're going to try to argue me, it's like you're making an assumption off of a 1 minute clip, and maybe your perception is that I don't know as much as you think I know. Some comments I ignore. If people are just rude and it's like, all right, you're just looking for attention, or this is just how you talk to people, I'm not always going to give you that leverage. But with that moment, I wanted to address that one particularly because it's like, hey, this is my page. This is a platform that I've created. This should be a safe space for everybody. Being a safe person doesn't mean you allow people to feel comfortable disrespecting you. That's never going to be me. I will definitely be a safe space, but it's never going to be a comfortable place for you to feel okay disrespecting me because I'm not doing that to you, right? I don't even know you, you know. Yeah, it's like
Right.
I have no idea who you are. So where's this coming from? They weren't the first, but it's like sometimes people need to they need to do what they got to do to take the edge off of what's being said and how they feel
Mm.
about it. It's an interesting thing how we humans can be very interesting. Very interesting. We are very interesting creatures.
I love what you said, that we are going to inconvenience others and others are
Yes.
going to inconvenience
Inconvenience us. Yeah.
us. And that in relationship, you should be looking for peace, not comfort. Can you expound on those things? Because I think people think that friendship, relationships of it, like they're not
Yeah.
supposed to be convenient. You're going out of your way for another person, period. No
Yeah.
matter who that person is.
Correct. It's especially with friendship. I think people think that friendships are meant to just be a convenience, which is why I think people get so offended when they realize that they have to be a friend back. It's like that's just not your friend. That's not your, phone a friend. That's not your emergency contact. That's not your, hey, I'm bored. No one else showed up. Entertain me. Is like, no, this is a relationship, right? And time, like I said, time is currency and energy is currency. We can all be sitting home on a couch watching TV, doing nothing, versus being out in the world and engaging with people. Um, and to be inconvenienced in a relationship means that it might require me a little bit more mental work, right? I may have to ask this person what do they need. Somebody may ask me for a need, and I may have to kind of compromise. Not compromise myself entirely, but just recognize that things don't just operate on my time map.
And in a way that's just comfortable to you.
To you.
Because it's not you.
Yes, exactly. It's not you. Telling somebody how to feel because you don't like how they're feeling right now, or like telling somebody what they should want or that they are too much or they're needy is especially when they are asking for the same things that they give. Uh it's just kind of funny to me. It's like, yeah, you are meant to be inconvenienced in your relationships and vice versa. But to be inconvenienced or to be an inconvenience doesn't mean you're inconsiderate. Those two things are not the same. It just means that things don't always operate how I want them to. It is so telling when you listen to a person, especially when it comes to dating. You listen to a person talk and you just listen to how they approach relationships. A lot of people approach relationships with this idea of what is this person going to give to me, not what am I willing to give to this individual. You hear it. This person got to have this, and this. It's like, do you have any of that? Well, no. I've been hurt before, or I just I just have boundaries. It's like I'm not willing to open up to anybody. But yeah, you're expecting somebody to be a blossom flower as soon as they meet you. It's like you got to come correct. You got to have all of this in order before you decide to mess with me. It's like, what two things can you name off that list that you have?
Thank you. Tell me how we romanticize relationships and
Oh
kind
man,
of have friendship in the waiting room when the
yeah,
best way to dictate how somebody's going to be a perfect partner is
yep,
how good of a friend they
they
are
are.
or not.
Yes, humans with labels, they are still humans first, right? You can give somebody a different label, but they'll still be the same person. And a lot of times, the beautiful thing about friendship that I say is it's not a relationship that's seen as an obligation in society. So how a person treats those relationships will tell you everything that they need to know. Being that I don't need this connection, am I still willing to pour into it properly and treat that person properly? Right? What does my tool belt look like? Because the same tools I have in this relationship, the same tools I'm carrying into this romantic partnership, I'm the same person and I'm gonna use what I know, right?
Mhm.
People fail to realize that it's like it's just a different label. I think once we start to look at that from that lens of these are just titles that people hold and we place a certain level of importance, We pedestal people, and we're overlooking, well, does this person align with the label? Do I actually understand what this label means and what it represents? Sometimes we just want to have the romantic partnership, right?
Yeah.
Because that is defined as success in society, right?
Yeah.
People treat singleness like a disease, and it's like, you could be
And,
alone
and
in your
Lord,
relationship.
don't have no children.
No, don't do that. Like, are you kidding me? Oh man, people weaponize that too. It's like, oh well, you wouldn't understand because you don't have a partner or you don't have kids. And it's like, just because you got kids don't mean you taking care of them properly. It's like,
Thank you.
chill out, sit down, you know? A lot of people would rather be attached to another person than connected to them. People would much rather go through life being attached and alone versus being connected to somebody and having them committed to you.
I
Right?
know you had said, I am no longer looking to be friends. I'm looking to be in friendship. Can you break
Friendship.
that down?
Yes, ma'am. Sometimes you are a friend to a person who is not showing up for you. And when you're in a friendship, that means it's two people participating in a relationship. A lot of times we're so blinded by what we are willing to do, how caring we are, how loyal we are, how supportive we are. And we're hurt when the other person doesn't show up. But if you look at it, a lot of times they never showed up. You were just blinded by your own efforts, right? It's this quote that says, people are not thinking about themselves. People are not thinking about you as much as you think that they are. They're usually thinking about themselves. And even us, when we are showing up in these relationships, that whole, well, that's not something that I would do, or I made sure I was showing up for this person. It's I focused. You are only thinking about yourself, overlooking this person you were choosing to be in a relationship with. How were they participating? Right? There's another quote that says, base your relationships on how somebody else is showing up, not how you were willing to.
Ooh,
Right?
yeah.
Because that's your relationship. When you are looking at how a person volleys the ball back over the net, oh, this is how they hit the ball. Either they hit it low, they hit it high, they like to spike it. Like, this is the relationship we have. Oh, I get the rhythm now. Versus you running around, you playing wall ball. Oh, you want to sit out? That's cool. I'll run back and forth over the net. I could
Yeah.
I can play by myself. That's all good. And then you end up in a relationship with yourself, but you have somebody who is a recipient of all what you're doing. You got to make sure that you are not just being a friend to somebody, but you are actually in a friendship with another person. That means that they come with their skill set and their willingness to be present.
And when that happens, it's a beautiful thing because
From
you don't have the same thing. So you complement each
the
other.
other person.
And,
Yeah.
and listen, some people have the friends are the family,
The family that they chose.
the family that they chose. And so when it works, it's a beautiful thing.
It's a great thing. I think you prioritize the people who prioritize you. And if we can just lean into that a little bit more and just see people as people first and remove these labels, because family can hurt you too, you know
First.
at first, sometimes.
That's who you meet first.
Yeah, sometimes they can be your first bullies. They could be your harshest critics. They are the ones that teach you the dynamics of relationship moving forward, and they may be the prototype for why you exist in lopsided relationships so easily. Right? Family can definitely, and again, removing the title. It's like sometimes you're just related to people by DNA, but you guys don't function as a family.
Absolutely.
And even with a partner, it's like, again, you chose to be with this person. This is a choice that you made. And you gave them that title, but it doesn't mean that they are not their own individual person capable of a lot of things. And then you have friends, again, that are willing to just show up just because that's who they are. And they see who
Mhm.
you are and they want to value you. And it's
Oh
beautiful.
yeah. Yeah.
It's cool.
I love when that happens.
Oh, it's beautiful. I'm blessed. I think again, standing what I talk about online is also, what I've experienced in some capacity in life. And it's like friendship being a big one. Because again, everybody wants a friend. Not everybody's looking to be one, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody loves a friend until it comes time to be one. So in life for me, having some solid foundations, having hard conversations, advocating for myself, allowing other people to advocate when it comes to themselves, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh
And
yeah.
sometimes those are really, when you have good friends in your life, you get to blame them for why you have such high standards everywhere else. It's like, look, these people treat me properly. So
They love me.
they
They
love
they
me.
they love me. Look,
Yeah.
listen. When I was in high school, my
Yeah.
friend's parent, they was like the basketball. Like they bought her mom made cookies. Her,
Yeah.
they made. She was the only child, so they made the
Yeah.
house like just kid friendly, right?
Yeah.
And I went to her. Every time I would go.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Kim, and the Smiths. Every time I go to Miss
Damn.
Smith's house, yes,
Yeah.
Miss Smith. As soon as I walked through the door, she had a glass of tea waiting for me because I liked her tea. As soon as I was like,
Come
for
on.
me, every single time. So you know what I mean? When you've been treated well, you don't go down.
You
You want to
don't.
stay up here.
Yeah. It's hard. It becomes real hard to settle for less when a person has shown you that, hey, I'll give you more and some just because. You ain't gotta do all that. It's like, oh, word?
Yeah,
Okay.
and you listen. You said that there are 8 billion people on the planet. So
Yeah.
why are we working so hard to hold on to this one or two people?
Yeah. Who
Make
fumble you?
room to
Yeah.
fumble you.
Yeah. You have the opportunity to make room. And then sometimes it's just important to recognize I'm trying to dress this person in a certain way versus me just letting them be who they are. You know,
Yeah,
when you allow people to be who they are and let them do what they do, it gives you space to do what you got to do too, right? It really does. Like honor people's choices, honor how people move. It doesn't mean that they have to move that way in your life, though.
ooh,
You know,
yeah.
give people room and make
Look,
space in the
you can
process.
do
Like,
that
yeah.
over there.
Over there. There's a lot of room over there. Go. Yeah, I'm not like you're not shackled here. Like, go be your bad self. I support it. You know?
And I recently heard Kerry Washington say that she did not like people's opinions are their opinions, but she only kind of looked at people who she actually respects or
Respect it.
admire. And it made me think of this question that I have for you. Isaiah
Cool.
Friselle once said,
Yes,
people
sir.
will never have the qualifications to be the CEO of your life. So how, Isaiah, do we make room for feedback without
Uh-huh.
giving the wrong people the mic?
Okay. Oh man, that's such a good quote. I said that? I said it?
Isaiah Frizzelle once said, and did.
Wow. Wow. I think the way you do that, it's important to make sure you know who your counsel is, right? And if you have a certain standard and quality of life that you desire, you're working towards that. And I think by design, you are going to find other people that also function that way, right? You guys just collide. So when you have those kinds of relationships, you have those kinds of people who are doing for themselves properly, then they have the awareness, they have the stability and some level of maturity to speak life into you without being, I guess, bothered by how you shine, right? There are people that want to take care of you and make sure you are doing good. Even if it doesn't benefit me, I still want to make sure you're solid. Not everybody has that, right? Not everybody is going to be happy for you. And sometimes people will project onto you where they are in life, you know? So being the CEO of your life, and understanding that you get to make the decisions at the beginning and end of each day. You hire and
Mhm.
fire who you need, um, but you also understand what your qualifications are to be in your life. You know,
Yeah.
do you fit the bill? That's why I always say, like, the what you demand or desire from other people doesn't match how you show up. Most people will say, yeah, but I always say the thing about us as people, wherever we go is where we are. And your relationships will always be a mirror to how you function in all of them. You will leave a history of how you treat people. I don't care what you say on the internet. I don't care who you try to argue with. The proof is in your patterns. How do you move through life? What's your Yelp review, right? What are people saying about you?
Let
Right?
me go through the comments of your past
Yes. Let me
to
just
gather
go
the
through.
information if I
Yeah.
even want to frequent here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think, yeah, you just get to understand what choices am I making for myself because that's how I'm going to treat other people. And the choices people make for themselves, that's how they're going to function with me. Sometimes it's very subtle. Like I said, sometimes it will come from family where they may not be happy that you are doing well. Even though we think that, oh, your family should be your biggest supporters, they should support you first. Says who?
Says who?
Right?
Says
Says who?
says who? That brings me to like the definition of your bird brain podcast about how you
Um,
talk about the migration of birds.
yes.
And I even have like a quote. Let me see.
Oh man, you're the best. You got me humbling myself. Be like, hey, Isaiah Friselle, listen, bro,
Yes,
got
yes.
impact.
I want anybody who stumbles across this conversation. That's why I've got the videos. Who don't know you can
Yeah.
discover you and know
Uh-huh.
why we flock to your comment section. And so I hope I'm not infringing on your time. I hope you got a little.
No,
You're
this
good.
I
We're
look
good.
forward to this. Are you? I look forward to this. I really appreciate you having me. So no, this is an investment. So thank you, thank you.
Awesome. So,
Yeah.
okay, why do you think we hold on to situations that no longer serve us while birds are
Mm.
already in Miami the minute the weather shifts? What keeps us stuck when
Yeah.
nature is out here modeling how to move on?
Come on, man. It's it's so funny. I think we say birds are dumb and they have small brains, but it's like, they literally know how to get up and take flight and just relocate. Oh, it's cold here. I'm not getting what I need here. I'm a little frigid. Oh, say less. It's only 20-minute flight. I'm out. We out. Let's go. We flocking. We out. Come on, get your stuff. Let's go. You
And
know.
look, every time, every
Every
year.
time. Oh, every time. You ain't gotta say much or nothing. Oh, I saw a snowflake. Too much for me. Miami, here I come. Absolutely. Absolutely. Make room. It's okay. I'll make room for me. Um, as I think as humans, we have such these parameters in place of you have to stick it out, you have to fight for your relationships. You have to be loyal, you have to be willing, you have to be committed. But the other side of that is not a complete sentence because it's telling people or making people believe that you have to bear without complaint. And that if you love a person, you would, in some ways, allow them to not love you, right? If you truly love a person, that means you're willing to be subjected to all of their mishandling of you. And that's not love at all. At all. That's not love for yourself. And also that's not a person loving you. Um, that whole idea of like, oh yeah, because they're family, they should be allowed to disrespect you is like, how does that make sense? You know? Or because I've known this person for a long time, I can backslide on them. Or, that's my friend, so they should automatically give me a discount. But a stranger I know or I don't know, I'm willing to pay full price for it without question. Like we have a lot of things backwards. And I think, and especially in relationships, again, we are so fearful of being with ourselves that we would rather be in company of people who make us feel alone.
But is that actually mirroring what we're doing to ourselves?
Absolutely. It's self abandonment. It's like, hey, I'm willing to push you into a dynamic where I know you're going to be mistreated. Um, and don't worry, you'll get used to it. Right? Don't make such a big deal about it. I love my relationship with myself because even when it comes to like certain things that I do wrong, I don't say bad things to myself. I'm like, Isaiah Friselle, what was that, buddy? What we doing? You know? Come on, my guy. You know? There's no disrespect coming this way. And because of that, it's like I'm very sensitive to how I'm being treated elsewhere. There's certain slights that I'm just not, I don't really acclimate to. And that's also because I'm not treating this person that way either, right? The more you understand and just appreciate who you are and get more curious about who you are versus being a critic, I think you will be a little bit more sensitive about who you keep yourself around. I don't bring Isaiah around everybody. Like this dude right here is like, nah, like who all gonna be there? You know what I'm saying? Who's all coming? I don't do that because it's like, hey, little Isaiah has worked so hard for me to be sitting here with you now. Like little Isaiah did that. I deserve, or he deserves, to be respected and honored and taken through life moving forward, feeling protected. I may not be perfect, but I'm gonna do my best.
To me, perfection isn't the goal, you know?
Right. I promise you, the more you approach yourself with curiosity versus this criticism or animosity, and you take the voice out of your head that's not yours, because a lot of times the script that we're running is not coming from you. And I work with my clients on that too. Like sometimes they have this narrative that they step into session with. And I'm like, when's the first time you heard that? Whose voice do you actually hear when you're saying that? Right? Let's try to reframe it. And it's so rewarding, I think, when they come back and they're like, hey, I've been talking to myself a little bit better. I've also been speaking up for myself a lot more often. I've been asking for what I need. And that, I think, for me, that is so rewarding because now these people are going out into the world and they're operating in such a way that's going to heal somebody else.
You know the old adage of like teach people how to fish and they'll eat
Yes.
forever. So
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
like what you're doing, you're not just helping like little Isaiah, you're
Yeah.
creating other people to help their little people as
Yes,
well
ma'am.
that live
Yeah.
in them so that maybe they can what? Pass it on.
Pass it on. Because
Pass
I
it on.
think once that happens, we naturally do take care of each other um, in a better way. And this comes from like me being a little rebel. It's like, I don't have the desire to be seen as like the Messiah and everybody comes to me and like I'm going to fix everything. He's like, no, I'm gonna teach you how to fix this yourself. You
I
know?
got this question since we were talking about little Isaiah. How
Uh-huh.
have you created the space for your younger self to exist
Uh-huh.
fully,
Uh-huh.
freely, and
Uh-huh.
without shame? And in what ways do you think that younger version of you would
Uh-huh.
look at who you are today and feel proud?
Wow. Uh how have I allowed little Isaiah space? It's funny, I have a sweet tooth. So it's like, going to the bakery on weekends, going to the bookstore. I think that's little Isaiah just doing his thing. It's like he loves to read, he loves sweets. Um, and I'm writing books too, so it's like allowing his mind to kind of like be a participant in what it is that we're creating. Right. I'm an artist first, and art is truly expression from self. And the well I pull from is Isaiah. It's like, yes, I may be revising certain things and trying to, format it a little bit more adult, but that creative process comes from Isaiah. Even with my book, the coloring book, the cover itself, I literally designed from scratch, and then the illustrations in there. Yeah, like that didn't look like that in the beginning. It started out as a white sheet, and I just kind of leaned into it, and I was like, let's color, let's really have fun, let's be an artist. And that was the result, that cover right there.
So little Isaiah has something to do with that.
Oh, little Isaiah has a lot to do with that. A lot to do with that, because when I was writing that book, it started out with me just writing notes in my phone. Every time a thought popped up, I was like, oh, this might be a cool concept. And then when I sat down to do all the illustrations, it was more of like approaching it like a kid. Hey, bro, this is supposed to be fun. This is not surgery,
Yeah.
nobody's bleeding out. Like, have fun and draw. Like, drawing was one of my first mediums when it came to art. It was drawing, then singing, performing, writing. Um, So like getting back to the root of that and returning to what Isaiah speaks with, just giving him permission to be like, hey, bro, have fun.
And you said that you were like a helper, the fixer.
Yeah.
And I identify with that because
Yeah.
mostly because of my birth order.
Yeah.
And the fact that I come from a single parent home. So
Yeah.
my mom called me first sergeant. And it's not a title I wanted or
Correct.
Yeah, because adult me is like, I don't want to be ahead of the group. I don't want to be the leader. I'm not even a group person, probably because of that.
Right.
Because the group was my siblings at first.
Acting up. Absolutely.
You said you saw yourself as the fixer, always the one who had somebody's back. But eventually you realized the healer needed healing too, which I love that line. How did you stop doing that to heal you? And who noticed first?
Oh, that's a good question. How did I stop doing it? Well, I started to recognize how I was feeling, and I was like, this doesn't really feel good, and I don't like it, I don't like it. And then I realized I'd be tired and kind of burnt out, and I realized, maybe I sought a certain level of support or the same thing, and there was nobody there. It was like, Isaiah, for one, what are you doing? Two, you recognize you're doing all this other stuff on your own, right, bro? For what? Right. Like, what are these relationships? What do they function as for you? And I noticed, like, when resentment starts to creep up, I'm like, I don't like that feeling either. The goal isn't to be mad at other people for what I've created or help them create or believe about me. And I think now, even being a mental health coach, the fact that I'm helping people professionally is like, well, in order for you to help somebody value themselves, you can't be a hypocrite. How are you showing up for you? So there was definitely a certain level of responsibility. And being online, being this influencer, I realized that there was a certain level of accountability that came with that. It's like, hey, practice what you preach. I talk about boundaries a lot. I think a lot of people don't realize that I have them. They find out, but it's like, how can I make sure that this person is taken care of? So it came with a lot of trial and error, but I feel better now because even the people that I choose to be in a relationship with, I just operate. I recognize how they operate and function. It's like, I don't know if that works for me, or it does work for me. And I think the person that noticed it first was probably one of my best buds, because he said, just this year, he was like, you have changed a lot since last year. He was like, and I think a lot of people are experiencing it and they don't really know what to do with it. Yeah. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, bro. He's like, you've changed in a very interesting way. And it's not that I've become hardened. It's just like, he's like, you've changed, and I'm glad to be a part of that and experience this side of it. He's like, because you definitely definitely changed.
I love that. Not only did he notice that
Yeah.
he said he was happy to be on a part of it,
Yeah.
which is why I noticed that you used the word best before buds.
Yeah, one of my best buds. Shout out to Micah. That's my guy. He's I know people say, oh yeah, there's only room for one best friend. And I just literally wrote a book on friendship that I'll be releasing soon. But I talk about that concept of the best friend. And I think of it as the people who have the best intentions for you and they show up in the best ways possible. Doesn't mean that everybody has to be your best friend, but there are certain people in my life currently who hold that rank in its multiples. Like I said, it's not many. I don't need it to be many, because the ones that I have in that space are they're worth their weight in gold, and he's definitely one of them. So it was cool to have him say that, and he's like, yeah, I am willing to step into this space. I'm willing to do right by you and just figure out how to do that, because I see how you treat me. I also see how you show up in the world. So it's not complicated. And
I love that, because it's gonna lead into another video from Isaiah Friselle about strong friends needing strong boundaries.
Strong friends need to have stronger boundaries. Considerate people need to consider themselves a little bit more and also recognize who considers them. We're in a day and age where people are publicly and comfortably showcasing a certain level of entitlement and selfishness when it comes to adult relationships. Okay? We will never experience ourselves to the magnitude that other people do, which means that we will never feel our impact the way that other people do. People see how you treat them, people feel how you treat them. But what a privilege it is to not experience your own selfishness. What a privilege it is to not experience your own lack of accountability, lack of intention, lack of communication, lack of effort, lack of repair. Okay, and what a privilege it is to sit back and think that you are still entitled to a better relationship than what you've offered. And let's be clear that mental health challenges and poor character flaws are not synonymous. There are people who have gone through the worst and still treat people in the best way possible because that's who they are as a person. Okay, and the whole no one owes anyone anything, well, there's an exception to that when you're in relationship with other people. You do owe them a certain level of care, respect, and consideration. But if that's your mode of operation, then no one owes you more time. Okay? Because there's always somebody else who's willing to try and who will treat them better the first time. We are not that special. There are some adults who are very infantile in terms of how they navigate relationships, thinking that people are toys that they can pick up and put down. Sometimes those things break. And let's be clear, everybody's going through something. Means that everybody is. And sometimes you're another thing that a person has to get through.
Come on. Everybody is. And you don't get to judge what
100%.
level of what I'm going through compared to yours because that's yours.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
You can look at me and be like, well, you're not going through what I'm going through. I'm not supposed to. That doesn't mean that it doesn't impact my life.
Yep,
you know,
right.
in a way that I'm struggling with.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's true. We don't get to tell people how to feel. We also don't get to tell people how to respond to our behavior that they didn't ask for. Right? You know, if a person didn't have any hand in deciding how you were going to treat them, you don't get to decide how they respond to that. You just don't. And yeah, being a strong friend, you deserve to have strong boundaries because let's be real, it's very challenging to find genuine, authentic friendships. Like that is like a gem. So why not protect that? Why not put insurance on that? You know, you put insurance on your car and you make sure that it's protected in some way, shape, or form. You make sure that you're protected when you leave the house in some way, shape, or form. So why not protect your emotional and mental health with understanding that, hey, I know how I'm going to show up in the world. How do I make sure I can continue to do that? Because it's just not about this relationship that's not showing up for me. It's also about the other people that are showing up for me. And I want to make sure I'm not backsliding when it comes to them. We forget, like, you still have other people that you are responsible for. And it's not fair that they have to be the recipient of somebody else's lacking. Taking care of yourself means that you still have the ability to take care of the people who honestly take care of you too.
I just love how you talk about how rare good friendship is. And Isaiah has a video on that. He does. He really does. Hold on.
The truth. People are not falling out with their friends as often as they think that they are. Everybody's just falling into their respective places in each other's lives. What we're actually starting to witness, examine, and experience is the realization of how rare friendship actually is. We're also starting to recognize that friendship is a relationship you have to take care of and show some level of respect to. We are also starting to recognize that friend is defined by certain qualities, and we are seeing whether or not we even fit the definition, not just the people we're choosing. Okay? Friendship is not based on proximity and or convenience. Friendship is based on authenticity, and there's nothing synthetic about it. And a lot of people are not friendship material, if you get my drift. Okay? So check in. See how you actually show up in your relationships and see who you are choosing to be in relationship with. But remember, people don't have to be bad people to not be good at relationship. And also remember, a lot of people like doing bad things without being labeled a bad person. But since friendship requires nothing but honesty, it will show the honest work that's being put into it.
Is it giving Black Mirror? Well, like, what does it feel? What does it feel like to watch you? Because I feel like I'm giving you the experience that we get scrolling on Instagram. Yeah. You know, we just saw a dancing video, and then we hit with that truth.
with
And
something.
and to me, you're kind of responding like we do, but you're also entertained because you know it's you.
Listen, it's
I did not expect this response. This is hilarious. Isaiah's like, damn, it's a lot of Isaiah.
this is a lot. It's oh man. Again, it's I appreciate you so much. I just want to say that because it's like, ah man, you've done your homework, but you've created such a space where it's just cool to sit and I think reflect because you really are holding up a mirror to a lot of these things, and you're giving me the opportunity to really think too and process. Like, man, these are some truths that I still live by, but to see them and to receive them is crazy. My cheeks hurt because that last video, I was like, how are these lined up so perfectly? It's just wild to me, man.
Oh,
You're good.
Listen, because I prayed before we did this interview.
Come
I was
on.
like, I
Come
said,
on.
God, I was like, I got so much information coming at me left, right, up and down. I said, how am I gonna do this? I said, God, just help me let it flow. So it feels like it's flowing for you.
Yes, it's
Oh,
eerily
good.
flowing because I'm like, whoa, okay. That video is again, I think people see friend as a they don't realize friendship is a privilege. It's something that they feel. I think it's something that their own privilege gets in the way of. Like, friendship is a privilege. The way we realize how rare it is to just find somebody who cares about you, somebody who's considerate, somebody who's equipped to show up for you, it is very rare. Very rare in all stages of life. Because I've talked to some people who are much older than me who are still recognizing that certain people they've been in relationship with for well over 30 years plus. Like, oh yeah, this relationship, this friendship has lasted so long because of what I've been willing to tolerate, or because I was always the one that was willing to try, right? It's like these little things. So friendship really is such a sacred space. And when you're doing it right, again, I've had some of my buddies recently that say to me, they're like, because of you, I have been more intentional about my relationships. Guys too, like I've been more intentional about my relationships. I've been willing to speak up. I've been willing to ask for what I need. And I'm really just more caring and thoughtful because you have taught me to be a better friend. And I'm like, oh man, it gives me a responsibility, right? In the best way possible. I'm like, you know what? Because of that, I got to make sure I continue to do right by me, but also do right by, these people.
What I love about something that you said, you were like, I want to do it my way, but I also want to do it in such a way that it's not just food for today, that down the line, you can take, and that's why I inserted these videos in this interview, because I'm talking to somebody who's going to click on this 5 years from now and get fed.
Come on. Yes, we all eat.
I remember Whitney Houston saying that. She's like, I'm not just picking music or, or singing or whatever, just so you can have it, so I can have a hit today. She's like, I want it for 20 years down the road for you to still listen to that. Now, what she didn't know that it's going to be 100+ years.
Right. She ain't going nowhere. Absolutely.
She's still here.
Yeah.
We're all going to leave here at one time or another.
Yeah.
But what we create could last forever.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. That's important to think about, which is, I think, is why I try to be so intentional, because I'm like, there's a footprint. There's always a footprint.
There's a dash. And what you're doing in that dash. But like all these videos that they're speaking to spirit, they're speaking to relationship, they're speaking to the betterment of just us as being humans with each other without the labels, because relationship is the foundation of everything. So I just love the fact that you are intentional because somebody is going to watch it when you're no longer here and
Come
you will
on.
still be here.
Whew. That's real. That is real. I really appreciate that reminder. Yeah, it's something to think about. My boy, what did he say to me? He said, "You're blind to your own impact." He's like, "You're nose blind to your own essence." That's what he said. Shout out to my boy Houston. He said, "You're nose blind to your own essence and your own impact." And I think sometimes when we go through life, for better or for worse, we're so comfortable, or we're so used to how we move through life that we never realize how other people experience us, right? You don't realize your impact. Like even for you, Q, is like you don't realize, you know, how you create a space for other people to just be reminded that, hey, somebody out there values what you have to say, and they want to have a conversation with you, right? They want to create a space. You don't realize the impact that you are walking around with, right? And how cool is it to have a mirror set up and be like, hey, this is what you have created, you know? So yeah, I think, like you said, is like sometimes I think it's a beautiful thing that we don't get to experience ourselves fully, because that means we can step into relationships where we have these reminders along the way. I'm like, hey, this is who you
Oh
are.
yeah, I
This is,
think it was set up by design.
come on. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be nose blind so you can keep creating, because you don't know
Yeah.
you don't know what one thing is going to hit, but you
Yeah.
enjoy the process of doing that one thing.
That part. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because listen, there's not the process of many things that I enjoy,
Yeah.
but I absolutely enjoy the process of getting to know people before I get to know them.
And it
So
shows.
so it was amazing to me, like, to watch videos, watch interviews, read stuff
Yes.
about you. And I was so excited to be able to have this conversation because I'm like, I didn't study this one person, and then I get to go and have a conversation about the excitement that I found out about this person with the person.
Yeah. Real time. It's so meta. So meta. Yes. Yeah. And it shows that you love what you do, because I think, like I said, I was excited to do this again. So I'm like, oh, this is just a good time. I love this space. So yeah, it shows you love what you do, and you allow other people to be loved on properly. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, because I also don't think that we do that enough for
No.
each other. We
Yeah.
really love and admire one another. And it's a
Yeah.
lot of times it's kind of filtered through jealousy or envy or our own stuff, because
Yeah.
we didn't do the work to become who we want to be. So we
Yeah.
project.
Yeah.
And I see the light in people,
Yeah.
the beauty in people. And I
Yeah.
think that it's important to share that to them while
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah, give people flowers when they can smell them, not when they can't, because it stops being for them. It's more about you now. My bros, I speak on them. Ash, Yusuf, and Micah, they have really been like, pillars as of late, in terms of just like creating, like, kind of like we just create the four corners, right? Where it's like there's a space that we occupy, and we make sure that, hey, that you're valued, and we do it in such a way where it's like it's active, it's proactive, and it's intentional. So it's really cool, like you said, to do that for others willingly.
The fact that you have a four corners,
Yeah.
to me, shows the kind of work that you've done on yourself, because you don't attract that if
Yeah.
you are not that.
Come on. Absolutely.
Back to Isaiah land. Another thing that, like, your mom told you that you kind of talk about and
Uh-huh.
interweave a lot is to
Uh-huh.
leave things better
Better than how you found it.
than how you found them, and also
Yes.
to,
Yes.
if you do it right the first time, you
No,
don't
no,
have to come back and do it again. And I love that you said, Isaiah Friselle once said, that no matter what relationships that has dissolved in the past, going back to them Yelp reviews,
Yep. Yep.
nobody can say that Isaiah treated them
Yep.
poorly.
Yep. Yep. I say that with such confidence. I'm like, there's no relationship where you're going to get that off, right? And even if it was a time, like, I'll willingly apologize. Like, hey, I own that, you know, can I do better? But hey, my boy usually, he said it. He's like, there are probably a lot of people who are no longer in your life right now who realize that they were probably the problem and they missed out. I was like, damn.
It is what it be.
Listen. I know how I'm willing to show up. I know my mission statement in every relationship I step into. Again, it's to leave things and people better than how you found them. And yeah, my mom, she stuck to that. If you do things right the first time, you don't need to go back and do it over. I think a lot of times people play on somebody's forgiveness and also play on other people's time. It's like, you never know when a person is tired of how you're treating them. You don't know the last time you're going to talk to a person. And both of y'all could be living still. However, that relationship met its demise because of how you chose to move.
Then, like, when you get to that point, like what you just perfectly set up for the next Isaiah clip.
Oh, man, what is this?
Listen, I'm just so happy that you have the time for me. Based on what you just said, when that happens, that person or that relationship, the position in their life, in your life, you need to go ahead and lower that. Because let's see what Isaiah say. Let's see what Isaiah says.
So here's some simple math. If it's required, expected, or demanded of you to lower your expectations, then it's also a requirement of you to lower the person's position in your life. A lot of times resentment builds when we keep people in significant spaces, with us being expected to not have expectations while they're in that space. Okay? And a lot of times that's where the friction comes from. But if somebody knows how to tell you what you should tolerate, but they can't coach themselves into being better, then that's something to be mindful of. Okay, and it's a difference between a person having a season, they're going through some things, and you have to support them in whatever ways possible. But if that's the contingency of the whole relationship, then you might want to take a look at that. I saw this quote that said, breadcrumbs are not food, they're clues. So if a person is only doing the bare minimum to get your maximum, then it's about time you decide, where am I keeping people? And how is that affecting me?
Because I can't make a sandwich with them crumbs.
You sort of can't. You're going to have to sweep. But you can't make no food with those damn crumbs. They probably
that ain't even hors d'oeuvre worthy.
Those ain't even croutons. It's not even some shut up.
Thank you. I mean, the closest is getting us to the communion cracker.
Listen.
And that ain't never been a meal, okay?
Never. You still going to eat after.
Look.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's another thing too. When someone says that, hey, maybe your expectations are too high of this person, and now the person goes into this idea of like, okay, so I'm asking too much, so let me minimize my needs while I continue to give like I was giving. You can't do that, right? Instead, what you say, okay, my expectations are too high of this person. This person is showing me that they can't meet those expectations. Okay, so how do I put this person in a space in my life where the expectations align with their effort? Okay, a person says that they don't want to call, they can never seem to meet up with you, they can't participate in anything that you ever have going on. Okay, so that means that I don't really prioritize when you call, when you have a need of me, right? I make sure that there's a balance there. Okay, because then I don't feel some type of way about you because I'm not pouring into you.
Because that's the disconnect when you're still pouring at maximum.
Yeah,
and making it clear that they can only give you here. That's where that resentment and all that. But if you lower to their effort, you're good.
You're Gucci, and you will not be bothered. You may be a little stung or disappointed, but it's like, hey, if I'm matching, not necessarily matching energy, but just matching effort, then I'm fine because I'm not exhausted.
But it seems like the other person only recognizes the shift when they feel it, when you stop
Yes.
for them.
Yeah, which is beautiful because what it tells us is like, oh, you were never asking for too much, right? They just didn't want to do much. You know, you were never asking for too much. The moment somebody gets offended that you no longer have the capacity or you match the capacity that they have and they feel some type of way, oh, thank you. Thank you for showing me that you two are sensitive about the same thing. I'm good. This whole time I thought I was tripping. No, you get mad about the same thing. Okay, we on the same
We
page.
on the same,
Perfect.
I
Perfect.
didn't even look at it like that. That's a new
Yeah.
window. I didn't
Oh
even think
yeah.
about it in that way.
Yeah. The moment somebody gets upset that you are now adjusting or at least matching how they function, and they're upset about that, oh, that's the clue right there. I wasn't tripping. You are also sensitive about this. This also impacts you, right? You also have a need that you are upset that is not being met. Perfect. We're on the same page.
It also speaks to this video that I'm about to show about people being a better friend to others. That
Oh,
we just go ahead and show it.
One way self-abandonment shows up is when you're willing to be a better friend to other people than you are to yourself. If a person knows everything that a friend does, but they don't do or exhibit any of those qualities, well, that's somebody you are a friend to. And they understand that they don't have to be one in return. But when you stop abandoning yourself, you start saying to yourself, hey, I'm no longer willing to betray you to show my loyalty to someone else who I don't feel safe with and who hasn't shown me anything in return.
I don't know where you be getting these from. That look like Photoshop. That can't be me. That's
Oh, it's you,
crazy.
all right. It's you. It's you.
That's
But what I'm saying
crazy.
is how great did it just go with what you just said?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yes, it's what we talked about in the sense of like our desire to win people over or have people validate us versus you not even kind of acknowledging yourself. Like if you don't appreciate the effort that you show up with, what makes you think that this person's going to do it? Right? Stop betraying
Mhm.
yourself to be loyal to other people. It really is that understanding of like friendship is a choice, relationship is a choice. Be mindful of who you're choosing and ask yourself, are these people choosing me in the same way? How we are when no one is watching, or when we think no one is watching. That says everything. So your ability to show up for other people and do your thing, yeah, you're kind of sometimes you're even over functioning, right? Because you have other people you have to be responsible for. And then when it comes to yourself, your body's tired, you need rest, and you're kind of like, well, yeah, I'm nobody important. So, whatever. I got these people I gotta
Mhm.
focus on. Outward distractions, right? If we continue to do that, we will have people who are also comfortable doing that too. You will be the longest relationship that you have in life. Other people are going to come and go, right? They'll either pass away, you have fallouts, they move across the country, whatever. And regardless of how many people are in rotation, you are with you 24 hours, 7 days out of the week, all the time. Understand what that relationship is. Do you listen to what you say? Do you pay attention to how your body feels? Like, do you recognize the script that you have on constantly? How do you treat yourself when you're doing well? How do you treat yourself when you're not doing so well? Is this a person that I care about? And if I treated other people the same way I treat myself, would they want to be around me? That's a great question to ask. Would people be okay with me treating them this way? Oh, they wouldn't. So why do I feel it's okay to do it to myself? Because people can't see the scars, you know? But you're still a
Mhm.
person. And truthfully, how you treat you is also going to be how you kind of show up in the world anyway. So everybody suffers when you are not willing to show up for yourself.
That's why I said those four corners that you got is such a great reflection of how you
Yeah.
take you.
Yeah.
If you're giving at this level, you need to be poured into.
Yeah, I started to embrace that. It's like, look, I don't ask for much because I do a lot. I do recognize I'm also a person that deserves to be taken care of. And I don't say it with ego. I don't say it with entitlement. It's like I know how I'm willing to show up. I know my track record and I know what I can sustain too. So yeah, I deserve to be treated properly.
What are the steps we can take to whisper differently to ourselves? to change that internal dialogue, because we are the loudest voice in the room, because like you said, we're our longest relationship.
Yes,
so what are some things that you feel people can do to change that narrative, that recording, and create some moves that help us honor ourselves in the way so that we also can have that rarity of friendship in reflection?
Oh, I think first off, even if you don't believe it right away, you just say to yourself, hey, you matter. And, right, you finish that sentence, is like, you matter, and I'm willing to prove it. Right? Let there be some action behind what you say. Because, we can walk around with affirmations as much as we want, but actions speak louder than words, and patterns yell. So it's like, you know what? You matter, and I'm going to prove it. So I'll prove that by having a certain routine. Like maybe I start with, you know what? I noticed that my working space has been cluttered and I can't focus. I can't concentrate. Cool. Let me clean this space up. I recognize that I have a self-limited belief about my skill set or that I'm not good enough. Let me spend 20 minutes a day working on this thing, even when it's uncomfortable. I recognize that I have a tendency to procrastinate, and I associate that with me being lazy. Let me understand that I am actually avoiding the discomfort of something that feels a little uncomfortable for me, right? It's avoidance. It's not necessarily laziness. It's just me trying not to exist in a space where I feel afraid or I feel vulnerable. I'm willing to understand that my feelings don't necessarily have to always be acted on, but they are communicating something to me, and I'm willing to listen to myself, right? I am willing to work on my relationship with myself and even apologize to myself, right? True apologies change behavior, you know? So it's
Listen,
like,
I only thought that applied to other people. I love
correct.
that.
Yes. Yeah. It's like before you take it up with somebody else, like how comfortably can you stand in the mirror and see yourself and be proud of who you are, apologize to how you treated yourself, and also say, hey, I'm willing to do better. We don't have to do it in a big way because the patterns that we have in our heads and in our bodies and in our spirits have taken a very long time to be there. It required repetition. The same thing applies to creating positive space for yourself. Repetition, right? I don't necessarily need to get this right by the end of the week, but I could start today. You know, I could take 10 minutes to just like 5 gratitudes, right? What am I grateful for? I can take a moment to let somebody else know in my life I appreciate them and why, right? I can take a moment to speak up and say, hey, this is what actually matters to me, and recognize that you, in your adult life, you cannot be abandoned. You know, you can make room, but you can't be abandoned. And people who want to show up, they will. But the only way those people can show up authentically and honestly is if we too are being honest about what we need and want and what we desire. There's always something to do when it comes to yourself. And it's not always about demanding you to be somebody else, to be somebody that's desirable by others. But it can simply start with just recognizing, hey, how do I treat you? And how do I get to know you? I wanna know more about you. Oh, you're sensitive to that? Oh, I wonder why. You know? Oh, this makes you
Being
happy?
curious,
You
being
know?
curious about yourself.
Yes. Yeah. Because we'll ask a million and one questions. We'll Google search people, but we'll never have that curiosity in a healthy way about ourselves and be like, you know what? I realized you used to do this as a kid and you still kind of do it now. And it's like a little unique thing. That's cool. You never lost who you were. I appreciate that. Right? Spend time appreciating more of who you are versus trying to be something for other people who probably don't even like themselves. Like we're trying to give people the rite of passage to tell us whether or not we're likable. And these damn people probably don't even like themselves. Like, hey,
Yep.
chill
Yep.
out.
Thank you.
You know?
Yes. Try
Chill
to
out.
get blood from a turnip.
Come
Okay.
on now.
Why is
Yeah.
celebrating who you are in this moment
Yeah.
flaws? progress, uncertainty, and all, something we should all learn to do. And what shifts in us when we stop waiting for a milestone to feel worthy?
Ooh, oh, that's so good. I think um, you have to appreciate the person that you are expected to do all the work, which is you, right? If I have this expectation that Isaiah, you should be, team no sleep, hustle culture, you have to be working 24/7, yada, yada, yada. Nothing you do is ever good enough. By the time I reach that pinnacle of success that I think I desire, it won't matter because I haven't appreciated anything that I've done up until that point, right? You have to appreciate the person in the process. Otherwise, anything that you do will never be good enough, right? You will always matter in every moment, not just when you're doing good. The good is the goal, right? It's the goal, but truly the process is where the work is done. You can't kick your back in and have your back at the same time.
Ooh, you better drop them gems.
You know what I'm
So,
saying?
and then whatever you achieve, whether it's a car, whether it's a wife, whether it's
Yeah.
a house, like
Yeah.
it happens in that moment. But whatever the journey to get there could have been
Yep.
years, your whole
Yes.
life, even.
Yep. It
So
it
that
will.
means you're gonna be hating yourself until you get this one thing, and then our 5 minutes later, we're like, okay,
Oh,
what's next?
yeah. Yeah. You're next, and you're always going to be the person that you're making responsible for that success. So it's like, one of my acting teachers taught me years ago. He says, "Don't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to a 3-year-old," and that was like 15 years ago. And since then, I've been very mindful of how I talk to myself. Dude, you're doing this work. You're making sure things get done. I should really appreciate the effort that you make. Because you don't have to be doing this. You don't have to be doing any of it. We could just be like, Isaiah, we're not creating any more content. We're doing nothing. We are just going to exist and just play in dirt for the rest of our lives. But instead, working at a higher capacity, working to a certain standard, just being who you are uniquely you deserve, actually, it's your responsibility to respect that person. It's your due diligence to make sure you recognize this is the person, myself, that's doing all this work to be better
Yes, you need to give love to that person every step of the way.
every step of the way. Every
Yeah.
step. Don't only love yourself when everything is going well, because you were there when it wasn't. Just like they
Mhm.
say, it is this the people that only want to be around when you're doing good. It's like, don't be one of those people, right? Because you're just as
Yeah.
shady. You doubted yourself the entire time, and now that you're doing good, you want to say, "I believe in you all along." But did you?
Yep. Yes.
You
I
know?
didn't even
Did
think
you?
about that.
Yeah. Like you. Sometimes we are our biggest haters. Waiting for us to fail, and it's like, as soon as that we hit it, it's like, "Oh man, yeah, I knew you could do it." It's like,
Yeah.
nah, you fronting. You know, you
Because you was
fronting.
hating on me yesterday.
Yeah, you was hating on me just yesterday because I spelled that thing wrong, or I didn't write this right. So it's like, it's you gotta really have your own back, and it's not that everything is gonna be perfect, but it doesn't mean you can't be willing to work at it and just say, "Hey, I got you."
Why
Yeah,
why do you think that the God bless you? Why are the people
thank
who
you.
trigger us the most our best teachers?
Because that's a good question. I think the reason why they're our best teachers is because they are giving us the opportunity to listen, right? You know, if somebody says something that we don't believe to be true or that doesn't align with us or we don't care about, it's one through one ear and out the other. But if somebody triggers us and they say something that bothers us, maybe it's not even true about us, but what do we believe about ourselves that we need to course
Mm,
correct, right? When a person is triggering you, they are just setting off an alarm system that probably needs to be rewired, right?
ooh.
What have I been carrying for the longest time? Where have I heard this before? Or have I grown from this, which is why it's kind of triggering now, because I'm like, oh, this is very familiar to what I used to endure and tolerate, but I'm not there anymore. Dope,
Mhm.
you know? So I can do this experience much differently, or this person is not that person.
And I love how this leads into another Isaiah clip.
Oh,
Quote that I love. If they couldn't speak, would their actions communicate that they love you? I like to take things a step further, of course. If you couldn't speak, would your actions communicate that you love yourself? See, it's very rare that a person will outright say that they don't like themselves or they don't love themselves. But if you pay attention to their patterns, their people, okay, their disciplines, or their priorities, you'd learn a lot. Right? And it is very easy to point out the things that people are not doing for us or the things that people have done to us. But it becomes very uncomfortable to hold up a mirror and say that as an adult, my adult relationships are by invite only, which means the people that occupy a safe space, a sacred space, a consistent space in my life, I have ushered them to their very comfortable seats. So ask yourself, who am I emotionally choosing to be abandoned by or distracted by? Also, I don't have to sit with myself.
Thoughts?
Man, that's a real one. Yeah. I think it's we'll do the soapbox. I love myself in a heartbeat. Um, but do you know that? Right? Like when you're gonna tell everybody else,
I just got it.
it's like, dude, are you aware of it? Or is it still pending? You guys have okay. It hasn't got to them yet. Cool, 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 cool. Got it. But you're telling everybody else. All right. It's so true. I think, and that goes both ways. If a person couldn't speak, would their actions show you that they love you? And I think sometimes people try to force you to look past their negligence and be like, well, of course I care about you. You should know that. And it's like, prove it. And then when it comes to ourselves, it's like, if I'm not telling everybody else that I love myself, how am I treat myself when nobody's watching? And if somebody got a little peek, what would that showcase?
A good follow up.
Uh-huh. Another one, huh?
Listen, I've got a few left. Here we go.
Truth be told, a lot of the people who preach about being busy or being an adult or being low maintenance only talk about that after their needs are met, not before. Okay? Even avoidant people don't like being avoided. All right? And no matter how much somebody tries to glorify low maintenance relationships or being nonchalant, a lot of times that goes one way. Okay? They like low maintenance relationships because they don't have to take care of them, but they are not willing to participate in one because they recognize they won't be taken care of. So let that be a reminder that everybody you meet wants to be taken care of, but not everybody is willing to show up and take care of the relationships that they're receiving from. And you don't have to be one of those people that stand still in lopsided relationships.
Oh, what would I comment on that one? Yeah, stop letting people tell you how to operate in a relationship where your needs go unmet. Stop allowing people to convince you that you're too much as you continue to give everything. Your standards, everybody loves your standards until they're on the receptive end of them and they have some accountability, right? We all love a person with high standards until their standards challenge us to do better.
Yeah, because you thought you had a what? An exempt card.
You sure enough did, and you learn how you learn real
What
quick.
you gonna learn today.
You gonna learn today, baby. You might not like it, but you gonna learn. You thought. Yep. Yep.
Next video.
Real quick, there's a difference between someone acting out of character, because that is their actual character, versus someone responding to mistreatment and disrespect that wasn't there previously. Don't let someone treat you poorly and tell you how you should respond to it to keep them comfortable.
If you didn't have a say or a decision in how this person decided to treat you, don't let somebody tell you how you should respond to mistreatment, right? They chose on their own without your participation. So you get to make choices without them being involved in it, right? Stand your
Yeah.
ground, stand on it. A person will play victim when you respond in kind to how they mistreated you. Like you knew what you were doing, you just thought that you didn't have consequences. We know how we move, we just don't know the consequences that comes with it.
And then if you're used to that person self-abandoning and just meeting your needs, well, you are especially shocked when they
Super
say
shocked.
no more.
Yep.
Coming up next, because one thing you're not obligated to do is be a storage space.
You are not obligated to be a storage space for anyone who cannot or will not hold space for you in return. Okay? And if you find yourself going back and forth with people about what relationships you should have in your life because it is your life and it's something you're responsible for, be mindful of what they're arguing. Are they making bids for connection, bids for repair, looking to hold themselves accountable and or provide solutions? Or are they simply demanding that they should be allowed to be another thing that you have to heal from or be dysregulated by? If you listen to people close enough, when they talk about friendship, when they talk about romantic partnership, they talk about family, they talk about the importance of loyalty and care and being understanding and compassionate and empathetic. A lot of people are talking from a place of being the recipient of those things, not a reciprocator. And you'll know by how they respond to you respecting yourself and realizing their lack of effort when it comes to you.
When a person gets upset that you start respecting yourself or they're offended that you're no longer showing up for them, let that be the indicator and the clue that you were asking for the same thing and you have the same feelings as they did.
Which leads us into Isaiah talking about meeting people where they are or not meeting people where they are.
Next time you hear meet people where they are, I want you to think of it as simply calculating the distance, not feeling obligated to go the distance. A lot of times when we hear meet people where they are, it's in response to someone now having boundaries, someone now raising their standards around their relationships, someone experiencing a certain transgression or maltreatment and reevaluating the relationship altogether. And meeting people where they are is a ways of being dismissive, disregarding, or bypassing certain responsibilities. And what it tells the other person is that they should tolerate, endure, appropriate, forget, or bypass what's taking place because another person is not looking to grow or hold themselves accountable. But we have to remember, sometimes meeting people where they are can not only cost us in gas, but also our mental and emotional safety. Okay? So the next time you hear meet people where they are, I just want you to calculate the distance. Ask yourself, how long does it take for me to go there? Okay, who's all going to be there? Do I feel safe staying there? Because sometimes staying home is the much better option. So when you hear meet people where they are, don't think of it as an obligation for you to always be willing to go the distance. Instead, just you calculating.
Meeting people where they are doesn't always mean you have to go the extra mile. Simply, it's like, hey, how far are you? Oh, is there a midway point? Oh, there isn't? All right, cool. Well, we could just stay on the phone or we could talk later. You know, meeting people where they are means that I'm going to see how you are willing to show up and I'm going to match that level of commitment. That's me meeting you where you are because now I'm not demanding more of you. I can't be disappointed by you, but I also can't be disrespected by you.
And Iyanla Vanzant says sometimes you got to meet people where they are and leave them there.
Leave them. Yep. It's like, oh, okay, you're there? Cool. Well, be safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in an upcoming Isaiah Friselle clip, he talks about the lack of effort.
Okay.
Lack of effort, a lack of reciprocity, a lack of support, a lack of curiosity are still things being done. Okay, if you find yourself at this impasse of whether or not you want to disconnect from certain people, whether it be in your waking life or even on social media, and you hit this wall of, well, they didn't do anything, okay, or nothing's been done. Sometimes that's the point. Inaction is still inaction. And in our adult lives, we get to be very intentional about our relationships. We don't have to have passive people in our lives based on proximity or the passing of time. Okay, you get to recognize when there's not a return on investment in the efforts being made to sustain a bond. And like people love to say, no one's entitled to anybody's time or energy. That's true. Okay, so you don't have to continue to make space where it's not occupied and where it's not taken care of. All right. Like someone said, sometimes there's no hard feelings. There's just been no room made for feelings to foster in the first place. You don't have to wait for people to do something to you, to do something about the relationship.
Doing nothing is still a choice, especially when it's a relationship that you're an active participant in. You know, recognize somebody's nothingness as an active choice that they're making when it comes to you. Bet.
Because friends sometimes are seen as social capital, which leads to sometimes we're talking about this loneliness epidemic. So yeah, like that's just gonna lead into another Isaiah Friselle clip.
A lot of people treat their friends like social capital versus social responsibility. And a lot of people want participation trophies where they haven't been participating. Okay, I want something on display that I can show off to other people that I'm good at or that I had for so long. Then I could put back on a shelf until I need it again. And society has shown that we are facing a loneliness epidemic due to a lack of healthy and sustained friendships. And while the need and desire hasn't changed, the discipline has. There's so many people who are publicly proud to talk about the lack of effort they make when it comes to friendship. I love that we cancel plans. I love that we don't make plans. I love that we can go months and years without talking to each other. I love that our relationship has been reduced to just sending memes back and forth. Or I love those low maintenance friends who don't need anything of me, but I could always get my needs met in my earliest convenience. But people would never proudly talk the same way about those behaviors in a romantic partnership. The reason why is because they recognize there's something fundamentally wrong with that, and also that would be the end of the connection. And this isn't even gender specific. And most romantic partnerships aren't even healthy, but they're founded on possessiveness, codependency, unhealthy attachments, and social hierarchy. Okay? People try so hard to glorify poor behavior and put a positive spin on it, because if I actually said the literal thing out loud, or I listened to what I was saying, I would have to accept some things about myself that I don't like and that make me look bad. And people also make it seem like friendship is what's getting in the way of their success in life. And people try so hard to diversify friendship before actually learning the definition. Truth be told, there will be no need for a second place trophy if there was effort being made in the first place.
Base your relationships off the health of the connection, not the history, right?
Because how many people say I've known them
since I was a kid? Yeah, and it's like, well, what else is good about the relationship, right? What's the health of it? How do you guys show up for each other? Or are you so fearful of reevaluating that connection or understanding what it is? You know, base your relationships off health, not history. You'll start to see your connections in a very different way, but also healthier, hopefully.
And can we say that was a bar and that the lighting was perfect and like the back camera or whatever you using on your phone is top tier?
Come on.
I was like, where's the cinematic look coming from in 2025? Conflict versus connection.
Wow.
The caveat is that when you actually value a person, you're willing to leave them alone when you recognize that they don't value you in return, because you want the best for them. And the principle applies to yourself as well. Okay? Contrary to what we are told in society about fighting for relationships to make them work, you have to recognize when you are fighting to keep a person around who is fighting to get from around you. Okay? There's a difference between having conflict in a connection versus the main conflict itself being the relationship. And this applies to any relationship. Okay? When we truly value a person, we want what's best for them, not what we want from them or not what we think they should have. I want you to be mindful. A person that is okay with losing you is also okay not making any effort to keep you around. Sometimes it's very subtle, sometimes it's very evident. You'll notice there aren't really any bids for connection, aren't any real bids for repair, but also it feels like you are fighting for a spot in their lives because they are not making any room for you. Recognize the difference. The relationships that are actually worth fighting for, you don't really have to fight that hard.
It's a difference between having conflict in a connection and recognizing when the connection itself is the conflict. Right? Don't keep trying. If you gotta fight for a spot in somebody's life, that means that they are actively not making room for you.
And it goes back to that other video that you said, make leaving people alone a love language.
Yeah. Leave people alone. If somebody is showing you in their action or verbiage or lack thereof, they can't be bothered. They don't want to be bothered because they for whatever insert reason, hey, that's a love language right there. Leave people alone so you can stop abandoning yourself to try to be a part of their lives and they're not making room for you. Leave people alone. You good?
And the very last video that
Uh-huh.
I have,
Uh-huh.
Isaiah posted today.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Isaiah posted today.
Let's
Okay,
go.
so you can't say that I'm not a fan, stan,
Yeah.
whatever, because he posted
Wow.
this video today. Okay,
Period.
period. And it's talking about the difference between being frequent and being consistent.
Ooh.
When it comes to the concept of distinguishing consistent people versus frequent people, even recognizing if you're a consistent person or if you're a frequent person, I like to think of consistent people being home and frequent people being more like a hotel, right? Frequency is based off of just how often something happens, whereas consistency is based on how reliable a certain behavior or pattern is, okay? When it comes to establishing consistency in a relationship, even if a person is not in your face frequently, there's still a certain level of reliability that they have when they show up in the relationship. Just like a home, right? I may stay away for a couple of days, but I always know I'm going to return here. Versus a hotel, yeah, I may stay here for a couple of days, but that doesn't mean I'll return, okay? I might just be passing through. And a lot of times in relationships, certain behaviors can be very disorienting and very dysregulated because even though this person is in my space, or we are occupying each other's space frequently right now, it doesn't mean this is going to be the consistent pattern. All right? And even when it comes to yourself, ask yourself, how consistent of a person am I? All right? And the big distinction is how inconvenienced am I willing to be to sustain a certain foundation. Consistency and frequency are not the same thing. One has a certain level of reliability, but also a willingness to be inconvenienced to sustain it.
Some people feel like home, and then some people you're trying to make a home with. And that foundation is pretty rocky. Okay? Like, recognize what you're building with and what you're building from, and who is trying to build with you. Okay? I was thinking about this concept of consistency versus frequency, primarily because you hear people say, well, yeah, we don't have to talk all the time to be friends. We don't have to do this to be anything. And they put a certain level of frequency on it versus taking into account the consistency of their behavior, right? Are you a consistent person, right? Because you may be in my face for a couple of days and that's only because you need something. But as soon as your needs met, I don't hear from you and I don't see you, right? And even inconsistent people are very consistent individuals. However, a consistent person feels grounded, they feel stable in any capacity, even when they deviate from their norm, there's still some level of explanation, clarity, and repair that they provide, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people may frequent you, but there are very few people who are willing to be consistent because that is inconvenient.
That word, that inconvenience. But you gave me permission to say, I get to be inconvenient to you and you get to be inconvenient to me because that's part of also just being human
That's what it is.
and having a relationship. Your number one love language is acts of service.
Uh-huh.
So when it comes to that, what services have others done for you that made you light up from the inside out?
Oh man. I think it's so funny because acts of service is big for me. And it's usually in the small ways, right? It's like I always say it's so interesting to be considered and be mindful of how somebody considers you. And sometimes it's not even in a big way. It's just like, hey, I got you this little thing, or hey, I thought about you. Um, Even a couple of birthday gifts I got recently that are just like some of my favorite things in the world. It will be as I continue, but like it's just the amount of intention and effort that goes into how somebody shows up and says, hey, I see you, I notice you, but this is also my way of showing you I appreciate you. Um, so yeah, it's these very interesting ways that people have shown. Um, even my bro Ash got me a birthday gift recently that was just like is now one of my favorite things. So it's always in the little things. It doesn't have to be grand gestures. My other bro took me to an escape room, which was sick. and it was just a good time. So it's like it's how people consider you. It really is, and the things that they do will show you that they are aware of you. They are in this relationship with you, and they're just not in it for themselves.
And,
Yeah,
thoughtful gifts, like I give them because they mean what you're saying, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um,
It shows. It
mhm.
shows. Yeah, yeah. It's those little things for sure. So it's like, yeah, you can just tell. That's why I always tell people: the more tuned in you are with yourself, I
Mhm.
think the more you can just recognize how another person is operating with you. It's energy
Mhm.
is a. We talk about chemistry all the time, only when it comes to romantic partnerships, but listen, there's chemistry in everything. We have a language that we are always communicating with each other. And you can tell how somebody values you.
Yeah, you can. What are some things that you are still figuring out?
Oh man, I think I'm still figuring out um, just just being okay with being all of who I am, right? Being okay with being human in the sense of like just existing and understanding that I don't have to save the world, and being okay with I think just being affected. I think sometimes we try so much to be perceived as like untouchable and impenetrable. I'm like, no. I love the fact that I am responding to things in the world that affect me because it's telling me that I am listening to my body. I'm also going to make sure I take care of myself moving forward. So it's like, being okay with that and also being okay with having doubts. I think, I am a person I always say doubts are great because if you think about when you are doubtful, if you're really paying attention, those thoughts will get challenged, you know? If
Yeah.
you're doubting something, you have this, well, what about this? So whenever you are doubtful, that is an opportunity for you to recognize what's actually important to you. I embrace really having doubts. I embrace challenges. And just being okay, I think, with rest too. That's a big one. Rest is not a
I
reward.
love
It's a
that.
requirement. Yeah.
Wait, what
Yeah.
does rest look like to you?
Oh man, rest can look like sometimes rest is literally me doing absolutely nothing. Um and being okay with it. Rest looks like not opening my emails. Rest looks like just not Sometimes I'm reading a book, sometimes rest is sitting in a movie theater. Sometimes rest is like cooking. Sometimes rest is spending time with my friends and the people that I'm close to. Um, Rest can look like many things, but they all are a part of what does Isaiah need to be taken care of. That's what rest is. It has a lot of different variations because sometimes when we sleep, we are trying to escape things because we are so restless in life. So rest is a multitude of things. Sometimes rest just looks like leaving yourself alone.
In one of the interviews I was watching, you said sometimes Isaiah need to leave Isaiah alone.
Yeah, yeah. Isaiah does need to leave Isaiah alone because it's funny. I have very high standards, and the what a lot of people may not realize is like they're not even held to the standard that I have for myself. Like, trust me, what I'm asking of you is not even. This is little league. You're good. I'm just asking you to be consistent or be intentional. But the standards I have for myself is very different. So leaving Isaiah alone, again, it goes back to that idea of like making sure that you are your biggest supporter, not your biggest hater.
So how do you talk to yourself on your worst days?
Oh man, I am so on my worst days. I'm like, hey, baby boy, like, what's going on? Like, what do we want to do today? Sometimes it's just as simple as that. Is like, you know what? Just get this done and just give yourself 10 minutes, clean this up. You know, do what you can. It's all good. And I
Mhm.
tell myself is like, you know yourself well enough to get anything done that you say you actually want to do. So stop tripping about today.
It's not necessarily harsh, but it's stern.
It's stern. Yeah. It's like, bro, you know you're gonna get this work done, so just chill out.
What do you consume that
Mhm.
makes you feel seen?
Wow. What do I consume that makes me feel seen? Man, that's such a good question. Um, I read a lot, and it's so funny because, in a weird roundabout way, I see reading as just a leisure activity. But like, if I was to tell somebody, "Oh yeah, I read about these many books or whatever," they're like, "Damn, you read that much?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's leisure for me." But I realize that it has a certain it exemplifies a certain level of commitment and discipline, but also intellect, I guess, right? And even going to the gym is like, that's my default. And I think I undermine it sometimes, but other people do not. So it's like the things that I consume, hmm, that's such a good question. I think because it's funny, like I'm not really a consumer, if I'm being honest with you. I do a lot. So it's like, I'll go to the movies, love going to the movies, sitting in a dark theater. Um, and yeah, I think sometimes even when I watch certain movies and I'm like, damn, I've been on the big screen. I continue to show up in these other ways. And it does kind of reflect back to me of like, yo, you were doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Or on social media, the comment section, this interview, it's like all of these things remind me that, hey, like, you're not invisible, so stop trying to hide from the world, bro. You can't hide.
What did they
Yeah.
say when the pandemic was over? You outside.
Right, right, all the way. And the door is locked. So you really stuck outside, bro. Like, show up. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
you know what? I can kind of understand because, like, you describe yourself as an introvert. So
Yeah.
I can see that, like recession to the back,
Yeah.
even how you
Yeah.
said going to the theater in a dark room and by yourself.
Yep. Yeah, just chilling. Yeah. But it's like I realized I actually got stopped by someone last week. I was crossing the street and they're like, I love your content. And I didn't hear him at first. And it was like, I really love your content. And it finally clicked. I was like, oh damn. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a
bro,
different world. It's a
it
different world
is.
because, like, when TV came along,
Hmm.
radio became number two when radio was
Yeah.
number one. And social media
Yes.
has actually upended TV.
Yep. Yep.
So we see you, we
Yeah.
know who you are, and we get
Yeah.
excited about you from
Oh
something that
man.
you posted versus
Yeah.
a role that you played in.
Come on. I appreciate that. That's
I mean,
real.
it's just the truth. You did a episode on this on your podcast. How do we know if our relationships are a garden or a grave? And what is that
Ooh.
checklist?
Oh, how do you know if your relationships are a garden or a grave? A garden, you may not see the growth right away, but there is evidence of growth, right? Um, maybe you start to see things sprouting a little bit in your relationships. Maybe the conversations that you're having seem to be a little bit more evolved, more mature, more developed. Versus a grave is dead. You every time you return back to this relationship, it feels like you're mourning, and every time you walk away, it's kind of like you're grieving. There's a lack of life in the relationship that is more
Yeah.
routine, right? Is
Mhm.
the memorial service versus it actually being you coming outside, looking at the flowers, looking at what's being produced. Um, it feels a little bit heavier, So I think
Yeah.
big things is like pay attention to the conversations you're having, pay attention to how you feel when you're stepping into that relationship, and also when you walk away, and just pay attention to how you feel, how you have progressed through life with this person in your life, how you guys are taking care of each other. Like those are three like big things. Yeah.
And when do you question, is it my relationship or is it my insecurities about the relationship that is off rhythm or kilter?
Oh, I think like I said, wherever you go is where you are. So look at the pattern history of all your relationships. And if you're the common denominator, if they all tend to end the same, if the arguments or conflict is the same, then that might indicate, oh, this might be an insecurity. If you find yourself looking for reasons to justify how you feel, then that might also indicate an insecurity, right? um, if you are self-sabotaging in a certain way, right? Creating distance or making assumptions, not having conversations about how you feel, then it might be your insecurities, right? If you can't, like, and yeah, sometimes we can't always pin how we feel about something, but we know something's there. But again, look at the history of the rest of your relationships. That's evidence right there. Every
It
time.
is. It
Yeah.
is. I
Yeah.
mean, listen, just as a a hyper independent, like, and I
Yeah.
was like skip to my lula, I mean, I was listen, I was in my
Yeah.
own world having a
A
ball.
ball.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and so what I saw was the common denominator of me maybe having needs, but
Yeah.
because I took good care of myself,
Yeah.
I didn't present it to nobody. But
Correct.
in the back of my mind, I was like, but if I do, they'd be
Right.
there. But I
Right.
never leaned in to test it, because had I done that, then I'm sure I would have gotten different results
Different
from
results.
everybody, because it's easy to be there for people who don't need you.
Yes. It's very easy. It's
And
very
so I was like,
easy.
I have all these lovely, exchanges with people. And I think my mom is the one who said to me, she's like, yeah, but you didn't need anything. You didn't need your emotional needs to be met. You didn't ask anybody for money.
Yeah.
You showed up as a complete package. And she said, Joe Public loves that.
Every time. People love the things that they don't have to take care of. They love a self-sustained person. That's why it's good to be like, hey, you know, this is my soft era. Like they say, this is my soft era. Which means that, hey, I'm delicate. It's like, nope, I'm not gonna be the strong friend. I can't sustain you mistreating me. I ain't got it. I'm too soft for that. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm
Listen, I'm
sorry.
about to be demure.
You hella demure. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm delicate.
I'm
Yo,
delicate. I love
fragile.
that.
Fragile is on the lake. Yep.
I'm about
Absolutely.
to listen. 2025 is embraced.
Yeah, yeah. Nope. We soft over here. Bubble wrapping. Absolutely. Handle with care, please. Thank you. Thank you.
And
Yes.
listen, we know you for so many things, like your content, you're a
Yeah.
mental health coach, you have clients,
Yeah.
you got so much going on. You're an actor, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're a dope son, a great
Oh,
middle
thank you.
child, you
Let's
know what I
go.
mean?
Thank you.
And one of the things is horror. This man
Oh.
who offers so much comfort in one way tries to scare the hell out of you in another way. Okay? The duality
Yes.
of being human, okay? So
Yes.
can you describe the kind of horror you write about? And I'm curious,
Hmm.
are those stories rooted in real experiences, or is it purely another world you've created, like completely fictional?
Yeah, I think I can be inspired by real life experience. I'll put it to you like this. So the Night Owl, the stuff that I write on there are all original short horror stories that have just come to mind. One story was literally created because I was walking along the beach and I heard some guy whistling. And immediately I just created a story from that. It's like, oh, okay. Whenever you
And a
hear
scary
somebody,
one at that.
yeah, it's I think just how my mind works is like, yeah, you're allowed to be creative. And the psychology, so like when I write, I always write from a psychological perspective because gore to me is like a cheap thrill. Like I don't necessarily want people to be disgusted. I want people to kind of like really sink into the story. You know what I'm saying?
And
Get up there. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a very interesting combo. People are like, how do you like horror? And you're like a mental health coach. I'm like, well, think about the things that scare you. A lot of times it's fear is false evidence appearing real. So a lot of the things that you are scared of the most haven't even happened, but your brain has created it, you know?
And it
So,
feels real.
and it does feel real, right? You shook. So it's like, oh, You know,
Got you shook.
it's like, hey, you're a little razzle dazzle. So it's like, that's all you need sometimes is the mind. So I love that I have that skill, and I didn't get rid of it. Like I love horror. Like horror is my jam. So
So
like
that's one of the things that you consume that lights you
oh
up.
yes. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, horror is big for me. And
Yeah.
I love the subtleties. I love nuance in horror. Yeah, there's a horror fiction book that I actually wrote that I'll probably release later down the line, but it was one of my favorite things that I've written so far. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice. And I
yeah,
want to know, like, how has your podcast? Because he has a hybrid, the Night Owl,
yeah, yeah.
and getting you together with you yourself and you, and then
Yes,
other people that you connect with. Like that's
yes.
just how he do.
Uh-huh.
So how has your podcast evolved from the summer of 2018 until now? And what have you learned about yourself doing it?
Wow, how's my podcast evolved? You know, it's funny. It's evolved. It's just grown with me because I think everything I bring to the podcast is just like, things that I've talked about, things that I've experienced. So naturally, it's just always like rooted in current events, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, so it just continues to grow with me, right? We're coming up on 7 years this year, and what a blessing it is. I got to get back into my creative writing bag for the Night Owl because I miss it. But yeah, it's evolved in such a way where it's just like I've watched it grow, and I've watched the populace of listeners grow. Um, and no two episodes are really the same, which is kind of reminding me that, hey, as long as you're living and willing to learn, there will always be something worth like kind of unpacking. So
I love
yeah,
that. I love that for you because you love it.
thank you.
You
Yeah,
love it.
thank you. You like it, I love it. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So look, we got to get into this Isaiah Friselle lightning round. Criminal profiler or medical examiner?
Oh, criminal profiler, easy.
Okay.
I don't like blood.
Okay. So that makes it, that's a hard left
Easy.
over here.
Yeah, we done. We are
Okay.
absolutely done.
I know you
Yeah.
love these two birds, but if you only had to pick one, the hummingbird or the
Or the
phoenix?
Phoenix. Oh, I would say the Phoenix. The Phoenix, I think, represents me in such a way where it's just like, always rebirth, always, regrouping. And that's why you'll recognize, even in the hummingbird logo for the podcast, I drew it. I gave the hummingbird phoenix feathers because it's like,
It's like a
they,
fusion of the two.
of course, yes, hummingbirds are they fly backwards, and also when they flap their wings, they create the infinity symbol. And I think they remember.
I learned that from you.
Yeah. See, so it's like I think, yeah, is the hummingbird is everything, but the phoenix, like I'm also a comic nerd in a lot of ways. So X-Men, the Phoenix, Jean Grey, that's my favorite X-Men. And yeah, so the Phoenix has always been like my truth.
Okay,
Yeah.
late nights or early mornings?
Now it's early mornings. I wake up pretty early and I go to the gym. Late nights, man, these days, if I'm up late, it's because I'm probably thinking about something or I'm just doom scrolling and I should be asleep. But I used to be a big night owl where I was up into the wee hours, and that's usually when I was the most creative. But now I kind of have a boundary with myself of like, hey, take care of the future Isaiah, which means that, bro, go to sleep.
I like how you big brother yourself, okay?
It's funny. I get called the big brother a lot, and it's like the internet. They started saying they're like, "Hey, you're the big brother on the internet, or the internet's big brother." And I'm like, "Oh man, that's cool."
East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast for the people. I think West Coast for the weather.
You can't beat a palm tree and the sun and the beach.
Come on.
That combination.
Yeah.
With a freshly baked Isaiah dessert.
Period.
Period.
It's a wrap. Yes.
It's a wrap.
Yes.
Speaking of favorite desserts, what's yours?
Yes. So there is a strawberry shortcake, but like strawberry short. It's like a birthday cake that I make for myself every year too. But it's a vanilla cake, strawberries, custard, whipped cream frosting. That's my jam. That's like yes,
Love that.
yes,
I
yes.
love that you can make your own favorite thing.
Hey, listen, it's like, look, if you need, you gotta know how to love yourself right to know what you're communicating to the rest of the world. It's like, if I know how to do it, then I'm good, right?
Hmm.
He knows. So,
Yes, he knows.
yeah, yeah.
Best compliment you got from a dessert you baked.
Oh man, the best compliment I got from a dessert I baked. Uh, Someone was like, I think I made a lemon blueberry cheesecake for the first time. And somebody was like, I don't even like cheesecake, and I devour this.
That's a big
Yeah,
compliment.
big compliment. But yeah,
Yeah.
people, they're like, they love my desserts, which is kind of crazy. But yeah,
Yeah, especially since you love them too. Like you get
I
to
love
share
it too.
one of your favorite things with others who actually
Yep,
love it too. You
who
know?
actually love it. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Well read or well rounded.
Oh man, if you're well rounded, that means you're also well read too.
Come
Like
on.
it's a difference between being well read, because if that's all you have in your arsenal, then you're kind of stuck in intellect. But if you're
Mm.
well rounded, that means you're well read in that mix too. So you're adaptable. So I'd rather be well rounded than just well read.
Who loves you more, dogs or babies?
That's such a good question because even my sisters, uh, I know my sister's dog for sure. Whenever I see her, she just loves on me. But babies is like they'll stare at me sometimes and then they just want to be around me. So it's like it's hard to say, but I always say if a dog is cool with me and if a baby is cool with me, then
Well,
that means
yeah.
I'm doing something right. I'm like, okay, I want to write that.
Something.
Yeah.
Oh, you've exceeded the threshold of something.
You're thank you. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's always a good telltale. Yeah.
Night owl or bird brain?
Night owl or a bird brain?
Yeah. The like if they said for the next 6 months you could only do one.
Oh. I would have to split it up. Like 3 months night owl, 3 months bird brain. I'm a rebel. Maybe it's like, no.
You said
Yeah.
rules for who?
For who? Because you thought, absolutely not. Yeah. I would have to do both.
I love
Yeah.
that answer because what rules ain't made for me.
No, they not. Nope. That's why I created that podcast the way that I did, because I said, I know for a fact there's no other podcast out there that's like this. And it's not that I'm trying to be better than everybody else. I'm just trying to create a better environment where I can thrive and create my own avenues, and also like create spaces for other people too, and like remind people that hey, you are capable of what it is that you want to do.
Yeah, and
Lean
you don't
in.
have to put yourself in a box.
Nope.
What about you is most like a cat, even though you really love dogs more?
What about me is most like a cat? Man, I think I'm very selective about the spaces that I exist in. I know dogs typically, well, some dogs, they want affection from everything and everybody. Is like, nope, I'm kind of a cat. Whereas like, I think I'm starting to realize there is a certain level of mystique that I carry, apparently. Um, and I'm just kind of, I'm just always just kind of scanning the room.
If you know how to make your own favorite dessert, you're waking up to take care of your body, you read
Yeah,
5 books at a time, like
yeah,
you can't just be around anybody
everybody.
carrying on. You want the
Right.
right kind of carrying on,
Period.
you
Exactly.
know?
Exactly.
And what 5 books are you reading right now?
So the 5 books I'm reading right now, there's one book called Tell No Lies. It's a psychological thriller. The author's not coming to mind. I'm also reading No Bad Parts. which is a book about parts work, right? Talking to the different parts of who you are. It's personal development psychology. And I'm reading a horror fiction book called Strange Pictures. And that it's funny because there's a book I read last year called Hidden Pictures that has a very interesting similarity, but it's a really cool horror fiction that takes place in Japan, which is one of my favorite places. And I'm in the process of writing 2 books. So I guess I can say that I'm reading those also because I'm revising them in the moment. So yeah. So,
That's the only thing
yeah.
I hate about writing. It's always rewriting.
Listen, oh my Lord. Oh my days. It's always a
I was
rewrite.
like, that's a process I do not enjoy. Like, y'all got that. You got that. That's all. Look, that's all you.
That's all you, baby. You can have it. Listen, it's a lot. It drives me crazy sometimes. And I think, again, it's like Isaiah, you're literally writing a book. No one told you how to do it. You're doing it. Enjoy it.
My last question,
Yep.
and then we'll have like a little epilogue. Then we can go about our lives.
Sure,
But
sure.
what's one sentence that describes, maybe 3 or 4 people in your life that's like super important?
Wow. What's one sentence that describes maybe 3 or 4 people in my life? Oh man, one sentence. There will be people who will remind you of how easy it is to be present for you. And those people will also be a reminder that everything you've been through up until this point was necessary. The good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, you know, these people that you get in life are the universe reminding you that in some way, shape, or form that, hey, the fact that you continue to show up, we got you, you know, we got you. Like,
I
here's some
love that.
mirrors, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are, just cherish the people who remind you that it's easy. That's it. It's yeah. Some people are really worth the effort.
They really are. They really
Yeah,
are. And I'm glad that you have been that for other people, but
yeah,
also you have received that as well.
yeah.
'Cause that's
Thank you.
really that infinity.
Yeah. Oh, come on, full circle, full circle. Yeah. I
At the
hope you have
hummingbird.
that too. I honestly hope you have that because it's like, you make it a point to create this light space. Even though we're talking about like life stuff, it's a very light space that you create. So I hope you have people that are reminding you of that. Like, yo,
Well, you know what? Like I have throughout my life, like I just told you about my friends' parents, my mom.
yeah,
I do, but I think that for me, the space that I'm in now is really wanting that main person to be me.
mm. Oh yeah, wow, wow, yeah, that's good.
I'm
I
not
think,
besties yet. Like I'm
yeah,
still in progress. Like I'm not
yeah,
besties with me yet. Like I can't really
yeah,
call myself my best friend just, but I'm on the road. Like
yeah. Come
I'm
on,
giving her a shot. I'm
come
letting her,
on.
I'm letting her re-enter the game. But
Yeah, okay.
but look, I'm checking out to see if she's serious this
Come
time.
on. Is she
Like,
about it? You know?
let
Is
me
she
see what you
about it?
working with, Q. Like you
Right,
kind of abandoned me. Like we was
right,
good. You
right.
like went off and you was like helping and contributing and making everybody else laugh, doing what they wanted. And then
Yep.
you wanted to get mad at them, but you was over here, but I was over here wishing
Waiting.
for 5 minutes
Yep.
of your time.
Yep.
So it's hard for me to indict others when I've
Yeah.
been so shady to me. And I
Yeah.
mean, most of it I didn't know, but once
Yeah.
I became self-aware, it's like, nah, I got to rebuild that with me. And then
Man.
hopefully when I can call me my own best friend, I will
Hmm.
radiate that out and get my 4 corners like you.
Come on now. Come on. Yes. I think it's like another thing too is like, You want to be in a relationship with people who make it a priority that you learn to love yourself also. You know, they make it a priority that you respect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's real. Like those people, they make sure, hey, you don't be talking slick about my friend. You
Yeah,
can keep
I
my
heard
friend
I
close.
heard you say that, and
Yeah.
I remember years ago
Yeah.
somebody in my presence called themselves like idiot or I'm dumb.
Yeah.
I said hey, that's how I know I was still me at that time. I wasn't
Yeah.
depressed because I was like,
Right.
hey, I said, hey.
Not
I
too much
said,
on the homie.
not too much on you because
Yeah.
I'm here. So
Yeah.
so if you're that, what does that make me?
Come on now.
So
Yep.
you can't be that because I'm chilling with you.
Come on. Absolutely.
So I see no idiots nowhere. I don't
Yep.
care if you missed the turn or
Yep.
I don't care. But like what you're not gonna do is talk about you with me because
Yeah.
you're also talking about me because I'm
Yep.
with you.
So watch your mouth.
So
Absolutely.
watch your mouth. I'm
Watch your
gonna need you.
mouth.
I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna need you to call yourself a king. I'm gonna need you to call yourself a
Right.
queen. At
Right.
least look. At least when I'm around.
Yeah. Right. Don't let me catch it otherwise. Don't let me hear you talk.
Yeah.
Don't let me catch it.
But I want that too. I want people
Yeah.
to help me rise as well when I'm
Yeah.
slacking because I'm just as human as they are.
Come on. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. But before we wrap this up, like I do want to speak to how you are showing up destroying stereotypes on a daily. Okay? You
Yeah.
black,
Uh-huh.
you male. How tall are you?
6'3".
You 6'3".
Yeah.
You work out. You don't play a professional sports. Actually, you don't even like sports.
Uh-huh.
Okay. You
Yep.
read, well read, well rounded. You came from a single black household.
Yep.
Most of your audience is women.
Yep.
So, like, you got a dual degree, you got a double degree.
Yeah.
So, that's a walking contradiction.
Yeah, absolutely.
What people project about black men. You don't have a podcast with 5 other dudes talking about women. I mean, in a derogatory way. So it has been, when I tell you it has been an honor, you know what I mean? To sit here, to sit here with that. Like whatever you didn't see or you did see growing up, like you became better than. You became, you took what you saw and you made a masterpiece of yourself. Like, so shout out to your mom, shout out to your sister, shout out to all the people in your life who poured into you so that you could pour into yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being one of those people.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Come on now.
We got on the internet.
Come on. You heard it first. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, that's needed. Like, and
Yeah.
So it means like this is probably the only interview. Like I did an interview in January with Whitney Houston's former bodyguard because he did a memoir, and this is it because like I have to figure out how to to monetize and all that kind of stuff. So I don't have the time or the interest to have conversations. So like this conversation means so much because it's the only other one I'm going to have in 2025, and it's with you.
Whoa, come on. Whoa.
I mean, unless God do something, but I'm not planning. This is it. Yeah. So I'm so happy that even on your holiday that you made space and time to have this conversation. And like I said, it was very important for me to mention how you're destroying stereotypes just by showing up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's real. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I mean, you somebody I ain't got to gas up. Like, all I'm doing is reading the bio.
Come on now. No, I really appreciate you. Like I said, I appreciate you being one of those people who does make it a point to speak life unapologetically. And again, you're specific about it, which also means a lot. I think it's easy to be like, oh yeah, you're doing such a good job, or I just love your energy. But it's like it's a difference between those people and then the people who actually take their time with you. So yeah, I appreciate you big time. Yeah, that's real.
Man,
Yeah.
it's mutual. And like I said, I think we just as human beings need to
Hmm.
do more of that. We
Yeah.
especially as Black people need to do it
Yes, man.
more with
Yeah.
each other, and
Yes, man.
especially as opposite genders. I'm a Black female and you a Black male, and
Come
look
on.
at all I got. Look at all I get to say about you. Not I have
Appreciate it.
to, I get to.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Come on. No, that means a lot. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but like, listen, I'm not running across Isaiah's on a daily, so
Yeah.
I'm going to milk it and pour. You know what I mean? Because I never
Yeah.
knew you before a certain time, and
Yeah.
who knows if I ever come in contact with you again.
You
So
know.
it's important for me to seize the moment and share with you like why this meant what it
What
meant.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Oh yeah.
yeah.
I'm a gratitude that one tonight. So thank you.
Oh yeah, that was my question. I forgot.
Uh-huh.
What did you put in your gratitude journal last night? What's 3 out of the 5?
3 out of the 5. Oh man. I went to the gym. I got up and worked. I worked. What else did I put in my gratitude journal? I think, oh yeah, I started my day really early yesterday. So I got some writing in, some revisions. My sessions with my clients were fantastic. Um, those like the big three. And, showing up in a moment of, kind of angst and fogginess and still having a very successful and productive day. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. Listen, it's been an ultimate pleasure. Like, I hope you
Likewise.
have, so much fun on the East Coast chilling with your
Thank you.
peoples, and that
Thank
you have
you.
a safe trip back to the West Coast.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
I got you. I appreciate you too. Good to see you.
All right, man.
All
Have a
right.
good
Take
one.
care. You
Peace.
too. Bye bye.
Yes.
My name is Isaiah Friselle. I'm an author, speaker, mental health coach, content creator, actor, but a well rounded individual who is just looking to create a better world, whether it's working with clients one on one or just trying to heal the collective one video at a time. And you can listen to me on the Bird Brain podcast. It's available everywhere you listen to podcasts and music. Also, you could just catch me on Instagram or, hey, work with me one on one.
Studio Q Show, now you know.
To connect or get my book, The Coloring Book. That's available in stores currently. So, yeah.